Chapter 3372. CEO Sue of Sky Entertainment Corporation wanted to blacklist someone. The next morning, a phone call was made from Sky Entertainment Corporation. Within an hour, everyone in the industry who should know about it knew about it. Initially, Gene Hanbang had already made a good offer for the filming of a super IP drama, which was 80 million yuan. But a 42-episode period drama actually demanded 80 million yuan. How much did one episode cost? Moreover, after filming, he still had to find a voice actor. He couldn't even match the shape of his mouth. Even Hua Xiao's movie kings with billions of yuan in the box office didn't have this kind of price. Originally, it was only a little over 100 million yuan. If he spent so much on himself, what was there to play with? The other funds definitely wouldn't be enough. In the end, the film would just be a moneymaker. For the sake of this film's budget, all kinds of advertisements were placed into it. All kinds of modern things could be inserted into the period drama. At the end of the day, it was all because of the huge salary of this actor. Now, before the 80 million bid had been made, the Sky Entertainment Group had sent word that they were going to ban Kim Han-bang. No one could use this actor anymore. This matter originally gave the producers a headache, but Sky Entertainment Corporation was generous. They immediately recommended popular fresh meat actors under their management and even provided an additional 100 million yuan investment. This instantly made up for the lack of funds and the difficulty of finding actors. Sky Entertainment Corporation was doing so well. If they didn't agree, they would really be shameless. The producer called Gene Hanbang. When Song Ji picked up the phone, he thought that the producer wanted to talk about the price, so he confidently took the initiative to say, "We've thought about it. Our Bang Bang can act in this movie. The salary will be 100 million yuan, and it can't be less." The production crew's producer was stunned. This guy's confidence was beyond what he could bear. 100 million yuan? What do you think? What do you think? Song Ji mistakenly thought that the other party was asking if he had any other ideas, so he directly said, "Okay, then I'll talk about our ideas and requirements. Regarding our Bang Bang, a 5-star hotel suite and a caravan that provides rest are all necessary. In addition, we also need 4 rooms. As an agent, an assistant, and a bodyguard, I need rooms." Wait a minute, I'm not asking you to state your request. I'm asking you what you think. The film crew's producer was about to flip out. Who did he think he was? How dare he talk to him like that? Song Ji didn't understand at all. He even pointed at his own head stupidly. "That's what I think. I think you guys are crazy about money." The producer was furious and scolded, "Who do you think you are? 100 million? A 5-star hotel? F*CKU. It's not even enough to F*King spend all the investment funds on you." Song Ji was stunned. He didn't expect the other party's temper to be so bad. He didn't even give him a chance to discuss and flew into a rage. This was rare in Hua Xia. After all, Kim Han Stick was very popular. This matter should be easy to discuss. Even if they couldn't meet this request, they would definitely talk about their situation and what they could give. Then what do you think? How much can you give?" Song Ji was a little flustered and his tone softened. The film crew's producer didn't think much. After all, we need funds. The investment is limited. The limit we can give is only 80 million. But you want 100 million. You don't intend to leave us any production costs? 80 million? Then let me consider. If it's 80 million. Song Ji wanted to leave a way out for himself. Don't think about it. We can't afford it. There's no need. The film crew's producer said decisively. 80 million is fine too. Song Ji hurriedly said. Even though Gene Hanbang was so popular now, he could only earn 200,000 to 300,000 RMB for one episode in Korea. Even if he earned 80 million RMB, he could still earn more than 7 or 8 episodes in Korea. The film crew's producer was stunned for a moment and said sarcastically, "Do you really think we don't have anyone to use? 80 million yuan to beg you? You can go wherever you want. We don't want you. Let alone 80 million, we don't even have 8 million. What do you mean by this? Are you not sincere in cooperating with us? 8 million. Our Bang Bang can earn a few million yuan for an advertisement. Song Ji was angry when he heard this. The film crew's producer smiled. Then go and find someone who is willing to pay you. After saying this, the call was hung up. That's too much. Song Ji wanted to say something, but the phone was already hung up. How can they not cooperate with us just like that? This doesn't make sense at all. Song Ji had been an agent for so many years, but this was the first time he encountered such a situation. Kim Han-stick didn't know what was going on either. He asked in confusion, "What happened?" The film crew's producer said they don't want to cooperate with us, Song Ji said helplessly. Kim Han-stick was stunned. Wait a minute. Didn't you tell me that we could get this show at a price of 100 million yuan? We can earn at least 70 to 80 million yuan. Why don't they cooperate with us? Song Ji's expression was a little nervous. I think it might be because we offended Su Yun of Sky Entertainment Group. Kim Han-stick's expression instantly darkened. You mean he really wants to ban me? But I've already done everything according to his wishes yesterday. Doesn't he want to use me to make money? Don't worry. It might be because of other reasons. I'm just guessing. Song Ji said, I'll make a few more calls to ask what's going on. Song Ji couldn't sit still anymore. This was a large sum of money. He quickly made several phone calls, trying to find out what was going on. But the answers he got were all the same. No money, can't afford it. Song Ji tried to bargain. Even if it was 300,000 yuan per episode, it was still a lot of money, and it could continue to increase his influence in Huaxia. But the other party refused to give him 300,000 yuan per episode. Now Song Ji was basically sure that this matter had something to do with Su Yun. Kim Han-stick didn't expect Su Yun to act so quickly. He banned and killed him as he pleased. He really didn't leave any mercy. At this moment, Kim Han-stick seemed to realize his insignificance. He was nothing in front of the big boss of Huaxia's entertainment industry. What should we do? You have to think of a way. Otherwise, what's the use of having you? Kim Han-stick couldn't stay calm anymore. Song Ji didn't know what to do now. This is really not a problem that I can solve. President Su of Sky Entertainment Group is angry and wants to teach us a lesson. We can only obediently accept it. So that's it? No more shooting? There's no way. Song Ji shook his head. We can't do anything except endure. Since Kim Han-stick became popular, he had never been treated like this. He couldn't bear it at all. I know you feel uncomfortable in your heart, and I feel uncomfortable too, but we can't fight against others. Song Ji sighed helplessly. It's better to listen to Sky Entertainment Group's arrangement. Today, we have to find a way to deal with the fan meeting. What about my face? Look at my chin. Kim Han-stick said. Although he had found a doctor to deal with it yesterday, to completely correct it, he had to have surgery. He didn't have time for surgery. Song Ji thought for a moment. How about this? You wear a thicker mask. I'll announce to the public that you have a serious cold. I'm afraid of infecting others, so you can only wear a mask. I'll help you say the best words. You just do what you need to do. Don't bring resentment. Kim Han-stick thought for a moment. I'm afraid that's the only way. Although he was unwilling, Su Yun's show of strength was too strong. He had to accept it wholeheartedly. It was better to obediently do what he needed to and get forgiveness. While Kim Han-stick was preparing, Song Ji took the initiative to call the relevant person in charge of Sky Entertainment Group to ask about the fan meeting. As a result, he received another blow. The fan meeting was cancelled. Without any reason, without any warning, it was cancelled. This result completely put them in a passive position. One had to know that they had already promised the fan meeting yesterday. If they didn't go, they would definitely be criticized and scolded for not having any credibility. This would cause them to lose a lot of fans. Moreover, even if Sky Entertainment Group cancelled the fan meeting, it would be falsely said that Kim Han-stick was acting like a big shot and didn't attend. The result could be imagined. Chapter 3373. Now, not only was Song Ji-ji like an ant on a hot pan, but Jin Hanbang was also completely restless. His mind was in a mess. The current situation did not match his status. He had become a newcomer who was looked down upon by others. We can't wait to be dealt with like this. Jin Hanbang panicked. We have to go to the Sky Entertainment Group and figure out what happened. Song Ji-ji did not dare to delay. He arranged everything and went straight to the Sky Entertainment Group as soon as possible. At the entrance of the Sky Entertainment Group, 2 security guards stopped Jin Hanbang's car. What are you doing here? The security guards did not stand on ceremony. They remembered the license plate number. It was Brother Lei who was ordered to deal with this matter by Chairman Su. Song Ji-ji's face was full of confusion. You don't know who we are? You don't recognize this car? Do you know who's sitting in the car? We don't care who's sitting in your car, the security guard said. If we didn't receive your license plate number in advance, we wouldn't have let you in. It's Jin Hanbang in the car. Do you understand? Song Ji-ji was still very authoritative in front of the security guard. Can you bear the responsibility if you delay the matter? We are guests of the Sky Entertainment Group. We are Chairman Su's guests. The security guard shook his head. If you were Chairman Su's guests, he would have arranged for you. But we didn't receive any arrangement. There's no other way. If you want to force your way in, we won't be so polite. You're looking down on us. Song Ji-ji said angrily. Who are you scolding? Believe it or not, we'll teach you a lesson right now. The 2 security guards were about to open the car door. Fortunately, the car door was locked, but Song Ji-ji was still scared out of his wits. Song Ji-ji quickly called the person in charge of the Sky Entertainment Group and told him about the incident with a lot of exaggeration. Anyway, he wanted to sue the 2 security guards for being disrespectful to him. The person asked him to give the phone to the security guard. Song Ji-ji did as he was told. When he gave the phone to the security guard, he was a little proud. He thought the 2 guys were going to be scolded. However, the phone hung up after a few words. The security guard threw the phone to Song Ji-ji. The higher-ups said that no matter who you are, if you want to enter Sky Entertainment, you have to sign a registration form. Only 2 of you can go in. The rest of you can wait outside. By the way, don't park your car on the side of the road. It will affect the traffic. Song Ji-ji's face darkened. Jin Hanbang also felt a kind of unprecedented humiliation. This is not taking him seriously at all. Let's get out of the car. No matter what, we have to go in first to solve this problem. Song Ji-ji's voice became a lot deeper. Don't forget, what we need to do this time is to endure and lower ourselves. Think back to when you first debuted. Jin Hanbang took a few deep breaths to suppress his anger and then got off the car with Song Ji-ji. Jin Hanbang and Song Ji-ji registered at the security office before they were allowed to leave. Jin Hanbang felt his face burning. He was humiliated by 2 security guards. This was the lowest point in his life. Even when he first debuted, he was never looked down upon by the security guards. Remember, sooner or later, I will make you pay for what you did today. Jin Hanbang wrote the registration form and said to the 2 security guards angrily. The 2 security guards didn't buy it. What can you do to us? To be honest, you are from Korea. The most you dare to do is to stab Hua Xia's fishing boat in the back and throw cannonballs. What can you do? Jin Hanbang pointed at the 2 security guards and said, I will make it clear today. I can make you lose your jobs because of this. Believe it or not. At this time, Shirley walked over. Hearing this, he was unhappy. What can you do to make them lose their jobs? They don't believe it. Here, in the security department of Sky Entertainment, I have the final say on who stays and who leaves. Shirley walked over domineeringly and directly gave the 2 security guards unlimited support. Did you hear that clearly? Even if we leave, it will be because we didn't do our jobs well. The security guard said confidently, You can't do that. Jin Honbang couldn't say a word. In his eyes, Shirley was just a leader in the security department of Sky Entertainment. He thought this official had low status and low power. However, Shirley and Su Yun had a good relationship yesterday. Su Yun even called him brother. Jin Honbang and Song Jiji both saw this. Just based on this relationship, they didn't dare to act rashly. Do you have anything else to say? If not, then leave. Shirley's attitude could be described as bad. Jin Honbang clenched his fists and turned to leave. At this time, he was nothing. He felt like a failure because he didn't receive any special treatment. In Sky Entertainment, there were all kinds of stars coming in and out every day. The staff didn't care about big stars. Moreover, Jin Honbang was a Korean wave star. In addition, when presidents were arrived this morning, the first thing he said was that he wouldn't serve Jin Honbang who acted like a big shot anymore. Of course, this wasn't directed at Jin Honbang and the other Korean artists. It was directed at all the artists who acted like a big shot, whether they were from China or abroad. Anyone who dared to act like a big shot in Sky Entertainment would be ignored. Jin Honbang was their target to practice on. Jin Honluan did not expect this. He thought that after coming here, some employees would recognize him, exclaim and take photos with him, and enthusiastically guide him to wherever he went. He thought that he would be warmly welcomed and supported. But all of this was just his wishful thinking. He was dreaming. Not to mention a warm welcome and support, he didn't even see a face that could look at him directly. Everyone was very busy, and none of them noticed his arrival. A guy who was used to all kinds of support was not used to such a cold scene. Just 2 days ago, he was angry because of the fans who came to pick him up at the airport. He thought that if all the fans in the world were dead, he would have peace. Now he found that he was wrong. Without the warm support, his world seemed to be incomplete. Only now did he realize that he was a person who needed to be recognized and pursued. The moment the passion that had once troubled him disappeared, his mood fell from the highest heavens into an abyss. At this moment, Jin Honbang was really disappointed and sad. Song Jiji asked many people about Mr. Su's office, but no one cared. Everyone was very busy. Very busy. The 2 of them were like headless flies, bumping into each other and arriving at the floor where the president's office was. As soon as they came out of the elevator, they bumped into an even more difficult person, Lin Gu. What are you 2 doing here? Lin Gu just came out of Su Yun's office. He told Su Yun about Yang Ya's work arrangements and also heard about Jin Honbang's nonsense from Su Yun. When he was about to go back to his office, he bumped into the 2 people coming out of the elevator. Although Lin Gu did not chase after celebrities, he was in the entertainment circle every day. It was impossible for him not to know Jin Honbang, but he still pretended not to know him. Song Jiji's heart skipped a beat. Jin Honbang had already put down his pride and said carefully, "Excuse me, does Mr. Su work on this floor? What are you doing here? Why are you running around in Sky Entertainment?" Lin Gu ignored his question. "If you don't say anything, I'll call security." Song Jiji quickly shook his hand. No, we really have something to do here. He is Jin Honbang and I am his agent. I don't care who you are. What are you doing here without an appointment? Lin Gu said impatiently, "Get out, do you hear me? We are here for Mr. Su. Mr. Su knows us." Song Jiji said quickly. Jin Honbang, who had already put down his pride, was so humiliated that he wanted to get angry. Fortunately, he held back. Otherwise, if he really provoked Lin Gu would slap him in the face. It would not be as simple as a crooked chin. He would probably be sent to the hospital to change his face. "Mr. Su is in a meeting." Lin Gu waved his hand. "If you really have something to do, go down and wait. Don't be so insensible. You are here for someone. Who has time to talk to you? Then we are looking for Mr. Wan." Mr. Wan said that he would hold a fan meeting for our Mr. Bang today. Song Ji explained again. Chapter 3374. Do fans wear masks when they meet each other? Are you treating your fans as thieves? If you can't put down your status, don't say those nice words. Lin Gu said, go out without an appointment. This is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Jin Honbang and Song Ji were rebuffed. Their faces were full of embarrassment. Fortunately, Feng Ying appeared in front of them at this time. In fact, she had heard Lin Gu deliberately making things difficult for them. For some reason, she didn't go out to stop them immediately. Now she felt that it was enough. If it went on like this, Jin Honbang and Song Ji would really leave with their tails between their legs. Although he wanted to make things difficult for these two people, they were still people from the Korea Cooperation Company. If he treated them as passers-by, he was afraid that it would be a bit inappropriate. Feng Ying was a person who could control the situation, so she appeared at the right time. So it's you? Feng Ying said lightly. Hello, Secretary Feng. It's us. We're here to see Mr. Wan. We hope you can tell us. We do have something important. Song Ji explained quickly. Feng Ying nodded gently and said to Lin Gu, leave it to me. Sister Feng Ying, I'll go back first. Lin Gu grinned. These two guys really don't treat themselves as outsiders. They're not polite. Why should we be polite to them, right? You're right. Feng Ying agreed and smiled. They came here without asking for permission. Obviously, they don't want to be respected. Lin Gu was relieved after hearing that. He turned back and went to his room. Jin Honbang was very sullen. Although it was another person, he seemed to feel that he wouldn't be treated well. Secretary Feng, we have a reason for this. It's not that we don't want to be respectful. We wanted to ask someone downstairs, but no one could give us directions. Song Ji said, so we had no choice but to come here directly. There are so many people in Tianyu Group. You can't find anyone who can tell you what to do? Feng Ying said, then I'm afraid you're too arrogant. Both Jin Honbang and Song Ji were stunned. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that Sky Entertainment Group doesn't lack celebrities, so no one will think that you're rare. You'd better know your place, or else you won't be able to do well here, Feng Ying said bluntly. Yes. We'll remember that. Song Ji quickly agreed and pulled Jin Honbang hard, as if he wanted Jin Honbang to say the same thing with him. Jin Honbang would not say such words so easily. However, Feng Ying didn't care. She didn't care about what Jin Honbang and the others said. Ms. Ruan is in the office over there. Ask her if she has time before entering. Feng Ying pointed to Ruan Qingxuang's office and left. Jin Honbang and Song Ji finally found Ruan Qingxuang after going through untold hardships. Ruan Qingxuang had long heard that the two of them were here, but she did not take them seriously. Just like what Zhuo Meiyan had said, if an artist decided to give up on an artist because of their character, it would be a waste of their life to say another word to them. Therefore, Ruan Qingxuang put most of her energy into her work. When the two knocked on the door, Ruan Qingxuang didn't make it difficult for them. She only said one word, come in. Song Ji carefully opened the door and motioned for Jin Honbang to go in first. He had to be respectful when he went in. He couldn't talk carelessly like yesterday. That was too rude. He had to apologize first. Ms. Ruan, I'm sorry about yesterday. Jin Honbang had to be humble for his future. Ruan Qingxuang didn't look up at them. She continued to read a document in her hand that needed her signature. Oh. Ruan Qingxuang's answer was very simple. It could even be said that she didn't listen to what Jin Honbang said at all. That was why her answer was so casual. Generally speaking, oh well, aha. These words all represented one sentence. I don't have time. Do what you want to do. Don't talk to me anymore. Right. This was the simplest and most blunt ending. Ms. Ruan. I think the fan meeting should still be held. Jin Honbang had completely lowered his attitude. Oh. Ruan Qingxuang looked up and glanced at Jin Honbang. Didn't you say yesterday that you didn't want to go? You should be happy that the fan meeting is cancelled. Of course not. It's about my reputation. Jin Honbang said, Ms. Ruan, I know my attitude yesterday was bad. But I really didn't mean any harm. I'm usually too casual. That's why you misunderstood me. Ruan Qingxuang lowered her head again. I don't need your explanation. But the fan meeting is cancelled. Sky Entertainment Group won't adapt to anyone's capriciousness. Jin Honbang's face was only left with embarrassment. Song Jiji couldn't bear it anymore, Ms. Ruan, but I personally promised the fans to disperse traffic. This was authorized by you. Even if it's cancelled, shouldn't Sky Entertainment Group give us an official explanation? You can't let us suffer a loss of reputation. I'm a busy person. Ruan Qingxuang said, maybe there are some things that I don't remember. It's okay if you don't remember well. As long as you can explain it clearly. Song Jiji nodded. Ruan Qingxuang put away the last bit of friendliness she had left. No, I remember it very clearly. If you need an explanation from Sky Entertainment Group, I'll stand up and explain it on behalf of Sky Entertainment Group. Song Jiji smiled and nodded. He thought to himself, that's good. As long as Sky Entertainment Group suffered the negative impact, it would have nothing to do with them. Hurry up and thank Ms. Ruan for her help. Song Jiji smiled apologetically and said to Jin Honbang. Jin Honbang was very impressed this time. He humbled himself and said to Ruan Qingxuang, thank you for helping me. I can't thank you enough. Don't thank me yet. Ruan Qingxuang said, once I speak on behalf of Sky Entertainment Group, I won't lie. I'll admit that it was Sky Entertainment Group's decision to cancel the fan meeting. I'll also clearly tell everyone the reason for canceling the fan meeting. That was cruel. Ruan Qingxuang was very firm. I won't let Sky Entertainment Group suffer any grievances. This is my company. Do you understand? What was the reason for canceling the fan meeting? Jin Honbang and Song Jiji both knew what it was. Did they dare to let this matter be exposed? If it was exposed, it would be over for him. It wouldn't just be losing fans because he broke his promise. His entire reputation would be ruined. Ms. Ruan, don't you think you're being too cruel? You're not even leaving us a way out? Song Jiji said helplessly, we really know we're wrong. We sincerely apologize. Please give us a chance. Don't be so cruel. Ruan Qingxuang didn't face Song Jiji's question. If you don't have anything else to say, then please go back. I still have a lot of work to do. I don't have time to listen to you guys. This wasn't Ruan Qingxuang's excuse. Ruan Qingxuang was really very busy right now. She really didn't have time. If that's the case, is Sky Entertainment Group really going to ban us? Song Jiji wanted to get a straight answer. That's not my business. Ruan Qingxuang pointed to the office door. Go out and turn left. Only Ms. Zhua has the final say on who we promote and who we don't. If you have the guts to ask, then go ahead. Zhua Meiyan was definitely not as kind and amiable as Ruan Qingxuang. Jin Honbang, who had forced Liang Shan into a corner, couldn't care less about his reputation now. He would beg whoever had the final say. Being banned by Sky Entertainment Group was a hurdle that he would never be able to climb out of. He didn't even pay attention to Song Jiji. He turned and walked out of Ruan Qingxuang's office. To put it bluntly, Jin Honbang didn't want to waste his time. Seeing this, Song Jiji hurriedly bowed to Ruan Qingxuang and quickly chased after him. Even if Ruan Qingxuang didn't have the slightest intention of paying attention to them, he didn't dare to be disrespectful. Right now, it wouldn't be good for them to offend anyone. If they wanted to regain the initiative, they had to make everyone in Sky Entertainment Group happy. Only then would they have a chance. The logic was very simple. Chapter 3375. Jin Honbang panicked because he finally believed that Sky Entertainment Group intended to ban him. Things were no longer as simple as a joke. If Zhua Meiyan had the final say, then he would go to her. He didn't have much time left, so Jin Hanbang didn't want to waste his breath. Unfortunately, he didn't understand the situation at all. If he didn't really respect Ruan Qingshuang, how could others care about him? Jin Hanbang knocked on the door. When he didn't get a response, he pushed open the door without hesitation. Zhua Meiyan, who was sitting in front of her desk, didn't even raise her head as she said, "Get out." "President Zhua, it's me," Jin Hanbang said to Zhua Meiyan confidently. When Zhua Meiyan went to Korea to attend an event, Jin Hanbang got to know Zhua Meiyan through the boss of his company, so he thought that Zhua Meiyan would treat him differently from other people. "I don't care who you are. How dare you enter my room without my permission?" Zhua Meiyan was obviously unhappy. "President Zhua, but I have something important to tell you." Jin Hanbang couldn't care less. He walked up to Zhua Meiyan and said, "How can you cancel my fan meeting just like that?" Zhua Meiyan didn't look at Jin Hanbang. "If I remember correctly, you told President Ruan that you didn't want to meet your fans, right?" Jin Hanbang was desperate. He didn't have time to think about how to organize his words. "No, it's that woman. She made the decision without permission, and now she's canceling it without permission. She's playing with me. You'd better be respectful," Zhua Meiyan said bluntly. Ruan Qingshuang is the vice president of Sky Entertainment Group. Her status is the same as mine. If I hear you disrespect her again, I won't be polite to you. Jin Hanbang was stunned. Zhua Meiyan's tone was warning. "Okay. President Zhua, I admit that it's my fault. I didn't do enough," Jin Hanbang said helplessly. "But you can't ruin me like this. This is really fatal for me. You know it very well." At this moment, Song Jiji pushed open the door and came in. "Hello, Director Zhua." Song Jiji said his greetings while bowing repeatedly. Zhua Meiyan impatiently tossed the pen in her hand onto the table. "Has your company never taught you that you need permission before you can enter? Compared to most of the artists in Korea, you should really learn how to be polite." Song Jiji was embarrassed. In fact, he was a person who paid attention to the details of his manners. He also paid attention to honorifics when he spoke. However, he was too flustered today. When he saw Jin Hanbang running into Zhua Meiyan's office, he didn't care so much and followed him in. "Sorry." Song Jiji gave Zhua Meiyan a 90-degree bow. "I was too rude. I hope President Zhua can forgive me." All right, I'm too lazy to waste my breath with you." Zhua Meiyan impatiently waved her hand. "If you're done, then leave. I still have things to do." Jin Hanbang hurriedly said, "No, Mr. Zhua, I haven't solved my problem yet." "Solve what?" Zhua Meiyan said, "You didn't want to attend the fan meeting anyway. Now that you don't need to go, what are you unhappy about?" "Jin Hanbang, you better understand your position. You're an artist. I let you stay in Huaxia out of respect for your boss. Letting you stay in Sky Entertainment doesn't mean you can ask Sky Entertainment to do whatever you want. Do you understand? I was wrong. I was really wrong, President Zhua. I beg you, please give me another chance. You don't get a chance just because you want it." Zhua Meiyan said coldly. "The chance you don't care about is very important to many people. Your fan meeting has been cancelled and changed. We've already given Park Sung Bang your chance. He cares about it a lot, so we've decided to give it to him. We've decided to hold a fan meeting for him." When Jin Hanbang heard this, it was as if he was struck by lightning. His fan meeting had become Park Sung Bang's. What was Park Sung Bang? How many fans could he have? How do you explain this? The company has already made its own arrangements. We don't need to trouble you, Zhua Meiyan said as she looked back at the work in her hands. Jin Hanbang sat heavily on the chair. His face was ashen, completely drained of blood. "I'm sure you know that you have to fight for a lot of things," Zhua Meiyan said. "You'll give it up. Park Sung Bang will fight for it. It's simple. President Zhua, you'll make it difficult for us to work together. Our company won't be happy with what you're doing." Song Ji was a little agitated. If Park Sung-bang was promoted, it meant that Jin Han-bang was no longer popular. The frequency of Korean artistes changing was too fast. The new artistes could easily beat the old ones to death on the beach. Sky Entertainment helped your company promote Park Sung-bang. How dare you say you're not happy with it? Zhua Meiyan said. It's not that Sky Entertainment doesn't want you to be popular. It's that you think you're so popular that you don't need our help. It has nothing to do with us. At this time, Fong Ying came in with a cup of coffee and some documents. Didn't she come in without knocking? Jin Han-bang said unhappily. Can you compare yourself to her? Zhua Meiyan didn't hold back. I dared to give her the power of life and death in Sky Entertainment. Who do you think you are? Her undisguised contempt made Jin Han-bang feel like he had lost all his face. You've just become popular and you've already forgotten your surname. You won't be able to stay in this industry for long. Zhua Meiyan said. People like you aren't suitable to develop in Hua Xia. Song Ji suddenly knelt down in front of Zhua Meiyan. President Zhua, we've learned a lot from this education. I beg you, please give him a chance. I swear he'll change his bad habits. He knelt down with sincerity. This was related to his future money. An artist's manager might only have one chance to promote a star. If he couldn't grasp this opportunity, he might not have another chance. Song Ji had experienced the treatment of a popular artist's manager and the treatment of an ordinary artist's manager. He knew very well how good the treatment of a popular artist's manager was, and how bad it was to be an ordinary artist's manager. Just going out for an event was reflected in the attitude of the organizers. Before Jin Han-bang became famous, Song Ji had to beg his grandpa and grandma for everything he did. Now that Jin Han-bang was famous, it was others who came to beg him for everything. He only needed to state the conditions. This was the position Song Ji swore to protect. If he turned Jin Han-bang into a nobody, who would dare to let him be their manager? He would have been in this industry for nothing. All the connections he had built over the years would have been for nothing. So even if he had to kneel down, he had to protect Jin Han-bang. Some things just happen, Zhua Meiyan said mercilessly. Zhua Meiyan said mercilessly, there's no point in apologizing. If an idol were to take advantage of their own advantages, then they wouldn't be worthy of being an idol. Are you determined to force me into a dead end? Jin Han-bang said coldly, aren't you afraid that I'll make trouble at Park Geekbang's fan meeting? If you have the ability, then go. Who was Zhua Meiyan? Would she listen to such a threat? What a joke. No one who dared to threaten her had a good ending. Song Ji pulled Jin Han-bang and signaled him to kneel down and apologize. This was a very important etiquette. He believed that Zhua Meiyan would accept it. Unfortunately, before Jin Han-bang could kneel down, Zhua Meiyan finished the coffee that Fong Ying had brought her. She took the documents that Fong Ying had given her and prepared to leave. Sister Fong Ying, I might not be back until the afternoon. If there's anything, please help me keep an eye on it. Okay. Fong Ying nodded. As for them, if they don't leave, you can call the security. Zhua Meiyan said, I'm sure Shirley will be happy to drag them out. Jin Han-bang and Song Ji gave up completely. Zhua Meiyan didn't even look at them from the moment she spoke to the moment she left the office. Chapter 3376. The successive blows had made Jin Han-bang completely lose his confidence, and he finally realized that he was now in a state of being banned. After Song Ji left Sky Entertainment with Jin Han-bang, he was in a daze. When the two of them returned to the hotel, Jin Han-bang, who had been silent all this while, finally exploded. He smashed almost everything in the room. The angry Jin Han-bang couldn't accept this loss. He had lost so much just because of an exchange with Sky Entertainment. Don't smash anymore. We have to pay for all these things. Song Ji said with heartache. We're in such a situation now. How can you still be angry? So what if I have to pay? Can't I pay for it? Jin Han-bang was angry. This amount of money is nothing in my eyes. Song Ji couldn't stand this guy's temper anymore. Do you know? Just because you offended Sky Entertainment and Chairman Su, how much have you lost? We can earn at least 70 to 80 million from that show. If you can get the approval of Sky Entertainment's CEO Su, he just needs to say a few words, and you might be able to get 100 million in salary. Jin Honbang couldn't refute this. Since Su Yun could blacklist him, he must have the ability to make him famous. This was normal. The extent of a person's ability could be clearly highlighted in this aspect. Let me tell you, what you're doing really pisses me off. Song Ji said. These losses are real. Aren't you just trying to destroy all my contracts? Fine. I'll let him destroy it. Let's see what he can do to stop me. Jin Honbang was furious. Call all the advertisers who approached you. I'll accept all the advertisements, no matter how much they cost. I'll accept them all. I don't believe that he can do anything to me if I accept all the advertisements in Huaxia within a month. Jin Honbang was really driven crazy. Are you sure? Song Ji was surprised. Some of the advertisers didn't pay the A-list price, which made Jin Honbang very angry. He felt that he wasn't respected. Jin Honbang nodded seriously. Of course I'm sure. I'm very sure. I've never been more sure of my decision than today. All right. Of course, Song Ji did not deny it. For him, as long as there was money to be made, it was fine. The one who was tired was Kim Honbang, and it had nothing to do with him. More importantly, Song Ji had already seen through the current situation. Jin Han Stick's ban was already so serious in the early stages. If Sky Entertainment Group were to exert a little more force, Jin Han Stick would completely lose its status. By the time Park Sung-gun becomes successful, Kim Honbang might even lose his status in Korea. In this case, Song Ji might as well completely treat Jin Honbang as a money-making tool. He could quickly earn enough money. In the end, he could cut ties with Jin Honbang. Even if he didn't mix in this circle, he could still accumulate some funds to do other things. Jin Honbang handed the matter over to Song Ji. Song Ji had a lot of room to maneuver. For example, those who had offered 1 million but Jin Honbang did not accept it because he wanted at least 2 million, Song Ji could talk to the advertiser. Under his persuasion, Jin Honbang agreed to do it for 1 million, but there was a prerequisite. His personal account had to have an additional 100,000 yuan. Ordinary advertisers wouldn't care about such a small amount of money. Was this the unspoken rule? Song Ji believed that he could still make a lot of money with this. After all, Song Ji had dozens of advertisements that he had rejected before. Some of them might be small advertisements for people at their level. They didn't care about them before, but now they didn't think so anymore. No matter how small a fly was, it was still meat. I want to let them know that even without them, I can still make money from Huaxia. Jin Honbang almost gnashed his teeth at the end of the sentence. Song Ji nodded. All right. There's definitely no problem. I'll definitely help you settle this matter. I'll handle it beautifully. Jin Honbang waved his hand and motioned him to hurry up. He didn't want to waste even a minute. In the next 5 hours, Song Ji encountered the lowest point in his career as an agent. Those advertisers who used to treat him like his grandson now ignored him. Not to mention the promised advertising fee, even if it was less than half, no one would want to cooperate with him. Song Ji realized that the sky had collapsed. There was probably no place in the entire Huaxia where they could stand. At this moment, Song Ji couldn't bear the pressure. He needed to calm down now. Only by calming down could he find a way to solve the problem. Song Ji couldn't give up until the last moment. After all, he was still Jin Honbang's agent. He still had a well-known money tree. During the time of calming down, Song Ji received a notice from his assistant, saying that Jin Honbang had lost a lot of fans because of the change in the fan meeting. 50% of the fans had unfollowed him. What surprised them even more was that Park Sung-bang had become the beneficiary of this incident. Under the two-sided influence of one decline and one gain, the number of Park Sung-bang's fans in Hua had surpassed that of Jin Hanbang. This matter also attracted a lot of attention in their company's headquarters. After all, both of them were in the same entertainment company. Jin Hanbang debuted 2 years earlier, while Park Sung-bang was just a newcomer who had debuted less than half a year ago. It could really be said that it was a blockbuster in the Korean entertainment industry. Because Jin Hanbang's private mobile phone was turned off, many of his friends in the circle couldn't get through to him. Song Ji-ji was really stunned and completely dumbfounded. Jin Han slept for a few hours with his head covered. When he woke up and was about to watch TV out of boredom, he saw an advertisement for a beverage that he was endorsing. In the previous advertisement, he was drinking the drink and talking about how delicious and strong the drink was. After drinking it, his whole body was like that. But now the advertisement had turned into a cartoon character. A cartoon character drinking a drink on the screen. What the F***ck is going on? Jin Hanbang was immediately angry and immediately called Song Ji-ji over. Song Ji-ji, who was already annoyed, was called over by Jin Hanbang's bad attitude. His mood became even worse. Then, an advertisement that made Song Ji-ji and Jin Hanbang even more speechless also appeared on the TV screen. The mobile phone that he was supposed to hold and talk about how high the pixel, high battery, and high configuration was also turned into another Hwasia boy. This time, Song Ji-ji was also shocked. How did Soo-yoon do it in such a short time? Song Ji-ji couldn't think of any other words to describe it except that this man's power could really cover the sky with one hand in the entertainment industry. Of course, Soo-yoon didn't think so. He really didn't think that he had much power in the entertainment industry. The main reason was that the Sky Entertainment Group's influence was too big. No one was willing to offend this entertainment giant for a small artist. It was just like when these advertisers received a call from the Sky Entertainment Group telling them to stop all cooperation with Jin Hanbang. Almost all of the people in charge or the bosses happily agreed. After all, a Korean wave star could only be popular in Hwasia for a few short years. If they offended the Sky Entertainment Group because of a few years, they were afraid that when their business expanded in the future and they wanted to find a superstar to endorse, no one would pay attention to them. This was the consequence that everyone would think about, especially the smart bosses. They would think about this kind of thing clearly. As for those who had already asked him to shoot advertisements, the Sky Entertainment Group only needed to promise to make up for the losses. This was the face that most people would give. Because of this, it led to the current situation. All of Jin Hanbang's exposure was zero, and all of it was negative news about him. Things like acting like a big shot, standing his fans up, standing the media up, all kinds of true and false reports all appeared on the internet. Everyone should know how scary the internet was. The news on the internet could easily make a person famous, but it could also destroy a person in an instant. This scary way of spreading really destroyed all of Jin Hanbang's positive image in just a few hours. Now, as long as people knew about Jin Hanbang, they were all cursing. There were all kinds of direct curses, and all kinds of indirect curses. All kinds of versions, all kinds of stories, all kinds of excuses to trick female fans into being his canon, were all exposed on the media. Except for a few die-hard fans who were defending him, the rest were all cursing. The Sky Entertainment Group didn't even hire a water army to create such a huge influence. Who else could it be? Chapter 3377. Why are you still standing there like a fool? Make a call. Call them and ask them what's going on. On what basis? Why am I fooled by them? Jin Hanbang was angry. I worked so hard to shoot it. How can they not release it just because they want to? This was a fact that Song Ji-ji found hard to accept. However, he had no other choice but to lower his pride and make the call. Even if he knew that Sky Entertainment Group was behind this, even if he knew that there was nothing he could do about it, he still had to get to the bottom of this. Knowing Jin Hanbang's current situation was a prerequisite for Song Ji-ji to make a decision for himself. When Song Ji-ji dialed the number of the advertiser and was thinking about what kind of tone he should use to ask, Jin Hanbang snatched the phone and shouted at the other party, "I worked so hard to shoot the commercial. Why did you change it? What's that now? Jin Honbang? The advertiser on the other side of the phone was surprised. He didn't expect Jin Honbang to have time to call them personally. When they asked Jin Honbang to shoot the commercial, Jin Honbang was so busy that he didn't have time at all. They even flew to Korea to shoot the commercial. At that time, Jin Honbang's attitude was quite high. He was as high as he could get. Now it was funny. Not to mention flying to Korea to look for him, even if he begged them, no one would pay attention to him. Now I can give you a chance to shoot the commercial for you. You should know how influential I am, Jin Honbang said confidently. Let me shoot the commercial at the price you mentioned before. You'll make a lot of money. Don't you want to double the price? The advertiser laughed. No, Jin Honbang said indifferently. He didn't feel guilty at all. The advertiser was amused. You have a lot of influence. Those who asked you to shoot the commercial have all withdrawn. Now no one in Huaxia dares to ask you to be their spokesperson. They're really not afraid of going bankrupt. Jin Honbang, do you really think you're so popular? Jin Honbang's expression changed instantly. The advertiser said coldly, now you're a stinking nest in Huaxia. A stinking nest that no one cares about. Do you understand? You'll regret it. Jin Honbang was anxious. You should be regretting it now, right? If you had really filmed this commercial back then, you wouldn't have lost anything even if it was taken down now. At least you would have earned the money. Now that you've lost everything, you must be very unhappy, right? Song Jiji knew that it was useless to say more, so he grabbed the phone and hung up. You don't have to say anything now. You've been blacklisted by Sky Entertainment Corporation. Song Jiji glared. Do you know the consequences of offending Sky Entertainment Corporation? Jin Honbang's eyes were bloodshot. Huaxia is a society that is very particular about interpersonal relationships. In this society, the network of connections is the most terrifying thing, Song Jiji said. You offended someone like Su Yun, can you still survive? The Jin Han stick said unhappily, are you lecturing me? I am teaching you a lesson. Song Jiji was anxious. Let me tell you, I'm your manager. If you can still respect me like before after you become famous, listen to me and act according to my instructions. You shouldn't have ended up like this. Jin Honbang was frightened by Song Jiji. You know what you've ended up like today. Song Jiji said, you still want to yell at me? Do you still have that value? Don't you know how much value you have left because of what you've done? Jin Honbang couldn't refute Song Jiji's scolding. Your net worth is already worthless. Worthless. Do you know that? Song Jiji said heartbreakingly, you're AF * king waste now. No one will let you be their spokesperson if you give them money on the street. Do you know? Do you understand? You're already a piece of trash. You're a complete piece of trash that no one will take a second look at. You're a piece of trash that people will pinch their noses and avoid when they see you. Everyone will be afraid that your stench will infect them. In the past 2 years, Song Jiji had always been obedient to Jin Honbang. Obviously, Jin Honbang couldn't adapt to his sudden cursing. Jin Honbang looked at Song Jiji in disbelief. He couldn't believe that even Song Jiji dared to talk to him like this. How dare you treat me like this? Every penny you earn is given by me. Jin Honbang was also annoyed. He said harshly, if it weren't for me, you could only live in that damn corner of Jiangnan district every day, living in a house of more than 10 square meters, and eating poor kimchi and white rice every meal. Song Jiji took a deep breath. When it came to this, the relationship between the two of them could only be broken. Since you think so, then fine. I have nothing to say. Song Jiji smiled slightly. Whether I eat kimchi or Korean beef has nothing to do with you in the future. What do you mean? Why are you showing off in front of me? Jin Honbang glared again. Seeing that I'm down and out now, you don't want to work with me anymore, right? Are you afraid that I'll drag you down? Jin Honbang said this in his heart. Song Jiji really didn't want to endure it at this moment. Jin Honbang was obviously a little scared. If Song Jiji left him at this time and terminated all the contracts with him, he would really collapse completely. You've already dragged me down. Song Ji said angrily, I've been very kind to you. In the future, you go your own way, and I'll go mine. We'll mind our own business. From now on, we'll draw a clear line between us. I'll get the salary I should get. If you don't give it to me, I'll find a lawyer and we'll see each other in court. Jin Hanbang was trembling with anger. Song Ji not only said this himself, but also called in all the bodyguards. If you want to work for him, then work for him. But I have an obligation to tell you that now he's useless. He can't earn a penny in the future. The Huaxia market has banned him, and the domestic companies won't use him anymore. You can think about whether he can still afford to pay you. Song Ji said bluntly. The bodyguards were dumbfounded at that time. Bye-bye. You can live here as long as you want. It has nothing to do with me. I'll go back home now. Song Ji said, You, Jin Hanbang, are a pile of mud that can't support the wall. Leaving the last sentence, Song Ji turned and left. Jin Hanbang was speechless. This kind of frustration was really incomprehensible and unbearable for ordinary people. Boss, what did Manager Song mean just now? Quan Yulin's face had changed. Our money. Is there a change? Your money. You only know about money. You still have the nerve to talk to me about money? When someone came to trouble me, you were all like trash. You still have the nerve to ask me for money? Jin Hanbang was already in a bad mood. Now, he was definitely going to explode. Quan Yulin was too direct. He talked about money without saying anything. If it were anyone else, they would definitely fall out with him. But at this time, Jin Hanbang didn't benefit him at all. Quan Yulin's bodyguards were only willing to work for him because of money. If there was no money, why would they work for him? We've always done our best. Quan Yulin's face became more and more gloomy. The matter of the salary has been discussed. As for you saying that we didn't protect you well, it's because you offended people that we can't solve with this price. Then who can you solve with so much money? Jin Hanbang glared. You can only solve those ordinary people? Then are you worth this money? What do you mean now? Quan Yulin's words were also very direct. You don't want to pay, right? Yes. I just don't want to King pay. What can you do to me? Jin Hanbang was now desperate. He didn't care about anyone else. If they had the guts, they could all get out. If they all left, he would have less to worry about. Because of Song Ji's departure, Jin Hanbang's state of mind was extremely distorted. Although Song Ji was his main target, Song Ji was also his backbone. Without Song Ji, he was in a bad mood. This was a fact that he couldn't deny even if he wanted to. You want to let us go without paying? Quan Yulin snorted coldly. You think too highly of yourself. Boss, this is the last time I call you this. If we don't get the money we should get today, I'm afraid you will suffer a little. You dare to threaten me? Jin Hanbang glared. Quan Yulin had decided to turn hostile. There was nothing to hide. He was a money slave, not a human slave. As long as you give me the money, we can talk about anything. If you don't have the money, then let's see if I dare to break your leg. Jin Hanbang's pupils were full of fear. Don't forget, this is Huaxia. Quan Yulin had completely turned hostile. Even if I break your leg, no one will investigate me in China. If you call the police in Huaxia, the police in Huaxia have no right to arrest me in Korea. Do you understand? As he spoke, Quan Yulin waved his hand. All the bodyguards directly surrounded Jin Hanbang. This was a rebellion. Chapter 3378. Regarding the reason for the change in the fan meeting, Sky Entertainment was indeed under some pressure, but this wasn't a problem for Su Yun. Jin Hanbang's absence did affect the mood of some of his fans, but Park Sung-bang wasn't any worse than Jin Hanbang in terms of appearance. More importantly, in order to ensure that today's scene would be shocking, Su Yun directly pulled Fan Bing, Ling Jiling, and the other goddesses of Sky Entertainment to the scene. This changed the atmosphere of the fan meeting. To put it bluntly, everyone was just here to see a celebrity. There were definitely die-hard fans, but the majority were easily swayed. Moreover, Su Yun also stood up to make a statement. Regarding Jin Hanbang's absence, I'm also very sorry. Su Yun said this very seriously. But our Sky Entertainment Group has always been very respectful of our artists. Originally, we said that we would hold a fan meeting with Jin Hanbang as the core, but it was completely because Jin Hanbang stayed in another hotel, causing traffic congestion outside the hotel. We promised to compensate all the fans, but when we made this decision, we didn't ask for Jin Hanbang's consent. If he doesn't want to participate, we can't do anything about it. After all, he's not an artist of Sky Entertainment Group, and he's not bound by a contract with us. He's an artist of Korea Entertainment Group, and like Park Sung-bang, the only thing that binds him is his company's contract. After these words were said, many of the fans were also angry. Jin Hanbang actually didn't want to participate? This was extremely disappointing for these fans. What did stars rely on to survive? Fans. Therefore, for them, fans could be said to be their parents. Without these fans, they wouldn't be able to earn so much money. For the entire industry, the followers were their parents. If they didn't even care about their parents, then why would they chase after and worship them? Artists and fans were mutual. Only by putting oneself in a normal state of mind could one continue to be popular for a long time. Anyone who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth couldn't have a foothold in this industry. Jin Hanbang was just like the Shanghai beast Zhou Libo. He thought he was great when he gained a little fame. He dared to make jokes about the country's leaders, dared to make jokes about Grandpa Mao, and even spent money to hire a water army to say that his talk show was great. They said that he was a master of satire, that he was exposing ugliness, and that he had contributed to society. Bull*T, he was a reform-through labor clown who licked the crotch of a rich woman to gain exposure. He was a typical scoundrel who was full of negative energy. Sarcastic master? Only Mr. Lu Sun deserves to be called the master of sarcasm. As for the Shanghai School of Animals, they were just trash that was trying to please the crowd. Why was this Shanghai beast so quiet now? It was because he wanted to show off. He looked down on this and that. His head was always held high, and his nostrils were pointed at everyone, as if he was superior to everyone else. That was why it had become worthless. Jin Hanbang was also in the same state. He wanted to use his nostrils to face everyone, but Su Yun didn't even give him the chance to do so. Instead, he directly killed him. If one didn't have enough ability and didn't know how to hire a water army in Huaxia, they would die before they even had the chance to show off. No matter what, the Shanghai School of Animals had been popular for a few years. After all, he had made the rich woman comfortable, and the rich woman had paid for him to hire a water army. With the support of a water army, nothing would be a problem. It was 50 cents per comment, so 500 yuan could get 100 comments. If the Shanghai bastard works so hard, he should be able to get at least 200 good comments from the internet water army. If that was the case, the Shanghai bastard could be considered to have worked hard. He should be able to get more than 70,000 good comments in a year just by working hard. Jin Hanbang didn't even know that he had hired a water army. If something happened in Huaxia, he would naturally be drowned by public opinion. Even if his few true fans kept posting good comments, they couldn't win against public opinion. Without the support of a water army, he wouldn't even know how he died. With Su Yun's words and the support of the celebrities at the scene, this matter was easily resolved. And very soon, another piece of shocking news was released. A 5-star hotel received a report that the Korean wave star, Jin Hanbang, had been beaten up by his bodyguard in his room because he owed his bodyguard his salary. He was beaten up so badly that even his mother couldn't recognize him. His plastic surgery face was completely disfigured. This was not a big deal, because all his bodyguards had flown back to China, and no one here could help him. His agent, his assistant, and everyone around him had left. Jin Hanbang was the only one left in Huaxia. He was dragged to the hospital and no one took care of him. He was quite pitiful. For such a destitute person, there were still some small news reporters who wanted to dig out the last bit of value. That was why this report was released. What was more shocking was that a small reporter interviewed a doctor and asked the doctor if Jean Hanbong's face could recover in the future. After all, he relied on his face to make a living. The doctor's answer was very direct. With such a face that had undergone plastic surgery, it would be good if he could still have a human face in the future, let alone recover. This face had undergone too many surgeries. Unless the plastic surgery experts in Korea could use the most realistic materials to create the most realistic face for him, he was willing to bear it for the rest of his life without any expression. This news spread all over the world. It was probably the last news of Jean Hanbong's career as an artist. The news quickly spread to Korea. Of course, the executives of Korea Entertainment Company couldn't sit still. No matter what, Jean Hanbang was their artist. If they couldn't make more money for them, it would be a loss for them. They had to figure out what had happened. The people of Korea Entertainment Company rushed to Hua-Xia. They wanted to find Sky Entertainment Company and ask for an explanation. Soo-yoon welcomed them at any time. As long as they were willing to come, Sky Entertainment Company would be happy to receive them. Sky Entertainment Company would definitely be happy to have friends from afar. Not only did Korea Entertainment Company come to Hua-Xia to ask about Jean Hanbong's situation, but they also began to look for Song Ji-ji in China. Song Ji-ji's phone could be reached. However, when they talked about Jean Hanbang, Song Ji-ji went crazy. He said that he had nothing to do with this person in the future. He didn't want to work in this industry anymore. He didn't want to hear any news about this bastard anymore. The people of Korea Entertainment Company couldn't do anything about it. Song Ji-ji was forced to do this. They also believed that there must be an irreparable conflict between them. If they wanted to solve this situation, they could only ask Sky Entertainment Company for help. If Jean Hanbang could stand up again, Korea Entertainment Company was willing to apologize to Sky Entertainment Company. After all, it was a profitable business. However, if Sky Entertainment Company and Hua-Xia's entertainment industry couldn't accept Jean Hanbang anymore, they would give up on him. It would be meaningless to package Jean Hanbang. After the people of Korea Entertainment Company arrived, they went to the hospital right away. After all, they had to figure out Jean Hanbong's situation first. When they arrived at the hospital, they realized that there was no hope. Jean Hanbong's face was ruined. For him, a star who relied on his face to make a living had lost his face. What else could he use to package him? Korea Entertainment Company was still very angry about this situation. That was why they wanted to talk to Soo-yoon about it. They believed that Jean Hanbong's problem occurred in Hua-Xia, so Sky Entertainment Company had the responsibility to explain it to them. Soo-yoon gladly accepted the request of the senior management of Korea Entertainment Company. It was indeed necessary for both parties to sit down and talk about it. In the evening, Soo-yoon asked Bai Xiaoye to prepare a reception banquet at Sky Entertainment Company. He didn't ask Zhua Meiyan and Ruan Qingshuang to get involved in this matter. In fact, any one of them had received the other party's people well. After all, the person from Korea Entertainment Company was not the president. Therefore, any one of them who was a CEO was giving the other party enough face. The other party was just a president. Soo-yoon asked Lin Gu to handle it himself. However, Soo-yoon still decided to have a good talk with him. He wanted Jean Hanbang to report to the chairman of Korea Entertainment Company and express some of the intentions of Hua-Xia's entertainment industry. Soo-yoon could no longer tolerate the Korean artists' immoral ways of making money. Making money wasn't a problem, but it required professional ethics. Don't treat Hua-Xia's fans as a tool to make money. A win-win situation was beneficial to the communication between the two countries. Zhua Meiyan was also very supportive of this. It wasn't a bad thing to let Soo-yoon teach the chairman a lesson. Chapter 3379. President Han of Korea Entertainment Company lost his temper in the hospital. He couldn't solve Jean Hanbong's current situation. He immediately arranged for Jean Hanbang to be discharged from the hospital and took Jean Hanbang on the plane to go back to China as soon as possible. With that face of his, if it couldn't be saved, then the company could completely give up. The loss was huge. At least in President Han's opinion, the loss to Korea Entertainment Company was huge. The impact of Sky Entertainment Company was obviously negligible. He wanted to see Soo-yoon because he wanted to clarify this matter. If he didn't clarify this matter, he felt that there was no way to continue to cooperate with Sky Entertainment Company, and there was no way to continue to cooperate with Hwasia's entertainment industry. Therefore, President Han came to the banquet with annoyance and anger. The moment President Han and his two assistants pushed open the banquet room door and walked in aggressively, Soo-yoon felt the anger from this person. Mr. Soo. President Han took the initiative to attack. Looking at his current state, he wanted to catch Soo-yoon off guard. It's me. Soo-yoon smiled slightly. He didn't get up, but just motioned for him to sit down. President Han, this is the first time we've met. I didn't expect you to be the president at such a young age. President Han thought to himself, I should be the one saying that. Compared to him, a 38-year-old president, Soo-yoon, who was more than 10 years younger than him, was more powerful. Mr. Soo, you flatter me. Today, I'm here to clarify one thing. President Han said bluntly, I want to know why Jin Hanbang became like this today. This guy's tone was completely interrogative. Soo-yoon stopped smiling. He originally wanted to be polite with the other party. After all, it was fate that they met. There was no need to be hostile from the beginning and make the atmosphere so hot. However, President Han didn't seem to think that way. He didn't want to be friends at all. He went straight to the point. Soo-yoon didn't care about this. In fact, this was more in line with Soo-yoon's taste and temper. If it weren't for Soo-yoon's current position, Soo-yoon wouldn't be polite with him. You're asking me this? No, you're asking the wrong person. You should ask Jin Hanbang himself, or find the personal bodyguards who beat up the owner. If you can't find them, you can go to his agent. Soo-yoon said, You can ask anyone about this, but you shouldn't ask me, right? I have nothing to do with Jin Hanbang. Soo-yoon's words were very firm. There was no room. Mr. Soo, this happened in Hwasia. Don't you think Sky Entertainment Company should take responsibility? President Han raised the smell of gunpowder. Then tell me, why should Sky Entertainment Company take responsibility? Soo-yoon asked back, if Jin Hanbang had followed Sky Entertainment Company's rules and stayed in Sky Entertainment Hotel, I can guarantee that this wouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, he didn't follow Sky Entertainment Group's instructions to stay at Sky Entertainment Hotel. Instead, he brought his manager, assistant, and the bodyguards who had beaten him to a pulp to stay at another hotel. This has nothing to do with Sky Entertainment Company. Isn't that right? President Han was speechless by Soo-yoon's words. He cursed in his heart. This damn Jin Hanbang, he actually went out to find a hotel. President Han, I think I need to warn you. You'd better be polite when you talk to me. I don't have a good temper. Soo-yoon said lightly. Was this a threat, a reminder, or a kind warning? President Han didn't know what to do. He came here to improve his aura. Even in front of Sky Entertainment Company's CEO, he had to show the style of Korea Entertainment Company. After all, President Han felt that in terms of entertainment, Gaoli Entertainment was better and better at manipulating artists. Therefore, even the CEO of Sky Entertainment Group had to learn from him and treat him like a junior. Therefore, President Han felt that he should be respected. Unfortunately, Soo-yoon didn't buy it. Soo-yoon was already very generous to sit here and chat. According to Soo-yoon's temper, he would have flipped the table and glared at him. However, Soo-yoon couldn't. Soo-yoon gave him face. If President Han didn't take it, Soo-yoon wouldn't continue to be polite. Therefore, Soo-yoon's warning was a kind warning. He hoped that President Han would understand his position and not provoke him. President Han was really stunned by Soo-yoon. This was what he feared. When Soo-yoon glared at him, President Han began to think about the consequences. CEO Soo, even if Kim Hanbang is wrong and it's his own fault, this happened right under Sky Entertainment Company's nose. President Han's tone was obviously much friendlier. That's right, I admit that. This happened right under Sky Entertainment Company's nose. Soo-yoon, therefore, I know very well that this will cause Korea Entertainment Company a lot of losses. As a friendly partner, Sky Entertainment Company must help Korea Entertainment Company reduce the losses as much as possible. President Han nodded. This was exactly what he meant. He wanted Sky Entertainment Company to take some losses. How do you think Park Sang-bang's popularity increased tenfold in such a short period of time? Soo-yoon suddenly changed the topic. Is this the result of your manipulation? Is it the result of his hard work and luck? President Han was stunned. He was speechless. You know very well that it's not. Soo-yoon, this is the result of Sky Entertainment Company's manipulation. It's not difficult for Sky Entertainment Company to make someone famous. CEO Soo, I'm impressed. President Han's initial sharpness was now completely hidden under his clothes. He didn't dare to reveal even a little bit of it. President Han, I know why you're here today. Soo-yoon, but I still have to tell you that if you want to show off in Hwasea's territory, I'm afraid no one will give you a chance. President Han nodded. CEO Soo, if you can help Park Sang-bang become famous, then we'll naturally be very grateful. But I have a presumptuous request. We'll try to find a way to restore Kim Han-bang's appearance and health as soon as possible. I hope that when the time comes, Sky Entertainment Company will give him a chance to help him. I've already done what I can. I've already done my best for you. Soo-yoon, as for your request to fight for Hwasea's market for Kim Han-bang, I personally think it's a bit too much. And it's not just a little too much. President Han swallowed his saliva. I just think that if it's possible, we should give him a chance. Although he did make a mistake, I believe he'll change. President Han made a final effort. Sky Entertainment Company may have a lot of influence, but it's not something that anyone can use just because they want to. Soo-yoon said coldly, do you think I'll use my connections for someone who doesn't even dare to show a single expression after plastic surgery? President Han smiled and didn't dare to speak carelessly. Right now, in the entire Hwasea, whether it's the producers or the advertisers, no one will give Kim Han-bang a chance. Soo-yoon, he brought this upon himself. Do you understand what I mean? President Han didn't understand, but he still nodded vigorously. Yes, yes, yes. President Han, you don't understand what I mean at all. Soo-yoon smiled. Banning Kim Han-bang will only benefit the Hwasea market. It will also have a positive impact on Korea Entertainment Company. Do you understand? President Han shook his head. A positive impact on Korea's entertainment industry? What did that mean? He really couldn't understand. Don't you understand? Soo-yoon, with Kim Han-bang as an example, do you think that Korea Entertainment Company's artists will still dare to act like big shots when they come to Hwasea? President Han finally understood what was going on. If you want to make money, you have to lower your stance. That way, I'm willing to let you make some money. After all, everyone is trying to make a living. It's not easy for Korea's artists either. Soo-yoon said calmly, but if you still put on a high and mighty attitude for money, I can't stand it. Hwasea fans don't owe you anything. President Han nodded continuously. He listened very seriously to Soo-yoon's suggestion. Korea Entertainment Company had already noticed the current situation. Artists who were good at making money in Hwasea would put on airs. This wasn't just in Hwasea. Even when they returned to China, they would still put on airs. It was because they made a lot of money in Hwasea that they put on airs. Chapter 3380. After President Han was taught a lesson by Soo-yoon, he left dejectedly. The question that Soo-yoon threw at him was indeed worth thinking about. In the end, Korea Entertainment was just using artists to make money. The artists they could control were naturally tools at their disposal. However, if they couldn't control them, they would become like Kim Han-bang. Once Kim Han-bang had the ability to make money, it was inevitable that he would become arrogant. Hua Xia's entertainment industry seemed to be better than Korea in this regard. Hua Xia's development in this area was normal, while Korea Entertainment's development was extreme. They were almost cruel to their artists, which also caused artists to become disobedient after mixing in. Soo Yun's ban on Kim Hanbang didn't just cause a storm for Kim Hanbang, but the entire Korean entertainment industry was shaken. In the next half a month, many people who followed in Sky Entertainment's footsteps showed signs of banning Korean. Although this was only Soo Yun's regulation of Korean wave stars coming to China to make money, Korea was still seriously affected. It could even affect the relationship between the two countries. However, Soo Yun didn't regret his decision at all. Even if he didn't have Kim Hanbang, he still wanted to teach Korea how to be a person. The source of Soo Yun's dissatisfaction wasn't actually Kim Hanbang, but a public speech by a Korean expert. That speech made Soo Yun very angry. The expert's original words were, "The country that looked down on the United States the most was Japan, and the country that looked down on Hua Xia the most was Korea. A small peninsula looked down on the two most economically powerful countries in the world. It was a bit arrogant." The Koreans thought that Japan was arrogant when it looked down on the United States, but didn't they think that it wasn't arrogant when they looked down on Hua Xia? Territorial issues, the Dragon Boat Festival, the Olympic torch relay. Korea had caused a lot of disputes over the years. The latest poll by Hua Xia's Academy of Social Sciences and Korea showed that most Koreans had a negative impression of Hua Xia. Their favorability toward Hua Xia was lower than Japan's, and even lower than the United States. If it was lower than the U.S. empire, Soo Yun would have accepted it. Usually, the national team with the potential to be the U.S. empire's henchman would only look down on the U.S. empire. However, they had a better impression of Japan than Hua Xia. Soo Yun couldn't understand this. Wasn't it because of Hua Xia's toughness that they were able to protect the East during the war against France? If it wasn't for Hua Xia's condemnation of the Japanese back then, Korea would have been destroyed by the Japanese. How many Korean women had been humiliated by the Japanese? The Koreans actually treated the Japanese better than the Hua Xia. When Koreans faced Hua Xia people, they had a special sense of superiority. They felt that they were nobler than Hua Xia people. Whenever Hua Xia was mentioned, negative associations would occupy half of the time. None of them were even willing to admit that Hua Xia had risen, and none of them were willing to admit that they had benefited from the rise of Hua Xia. From the very beginning, they felt that Hua Xia was a country bumpkin. In the eyes of more than half of the Koreans, Hua Xia was the same as the people of Japan. At the end of the day, it was because Hua Xia had once helped the Korean dynasty. A narrow-minded country would naturally bear a grudge against such a thing. Of course, there was also a reason why the Koreans felt inferior. They were afraid of the rise of Hua Xia. They were afraid that once Hua Xia rose, it would become a hegemonic country like the United States. They were afraid that Korea would lose its competitive advantage in the international market. If the Koreans were asked if they hoped that Hua Xia would rise, most of them would probably say that they didn't. This was because they were worried that the rise of Hua Xia would cause them to become a subordinate country of Hua Xia, just like in history. They were worried that if the United States sneezed now, Korea would catch a cold. If Hua Xia also developed and this country rose, it wouldn't just be a problem of catching a cold. Hua Xia could kill them with a sneeze. Soo Yun hated this kind of narrow-mindedness, so he felt that it was necessary to let Korea realize that it wasn't that Hua Xia couldn't deal with them, but that they didn't want to lower themselves to the level of a small country. The Koreans always felt that their economic development level, social system construction, and national quality were far superior to Hua Xia. This also made Soo Yun unhappy. After taking control of the Sky Entertainment Group, Soo Yun had more or less observed and understood the international film and television industry. During this process, Soo Yun discovered something that he could not accept. It was an image that was often seen in Korea's daily film and television works, even in comics and logo designs. The Koreans called it Wong Sobo. This was one of the proverbs that the Koreans called Hua Xia people. There were also various other colloquial names such as Dai Nam and Zonggai. Soo Yun did not know what these meant at first, but later on, Soo Yun studied the meaning of these words and was a little angry. The identity of Wong Sobo was a merchant from Hua in the Qing dynasty. In the eyes of the Koreans, his appearance was characterized by being short, fat, slender eyes, long braids, and wearing a skullcap. The characteristics of this kind of Hua merchant were laziness, stubbornness, greed, cunning, stinginess, and so on. The impression that Dai Nam gave people was dirty, slow, stubborn, cunning, suspicious, and shrewd. When the Koreans used the term Dai Nam, they often referred to a group of Hua people. They thought that a group of Hua people was noisy, arrogant, exclusive, and a huge flow of people. They were a group of stupid people who used numbers to solve problems. Creating fake goods and having bad intentions were the meanings of these words in the hearts of the Koreans. As for Zongai, it referred to Hua fast food, and was also a derogatory term for Hua people. Until today, Hua people still hadn't gotten rid of or completely got rid of the image of Hua people described by the above words. This was the conclusion that Su Yun came to after doing some research. For example, in the Korean entertainment program, someone said that the fat man who sang Oppa Steel Door Plug when he came to Hua to earn money, he gave people the feeling that he was a Hua native. Obviously, the image of the fat man was very similar to the Hua people in the eyes of the Koreans. He was short, fat, had slender eyes, and had a cunning and greedy look. It wasn't that the fat man didn't look good, but the fat man was honest. He probably didn't have plastic surgery. Otherwise, it wouldn't have affected the appearance of the Koreans so much that people in their own country said that he looked like a Hua native. This made Su Yun very unhappy. In fact, the Hua people's impression of the Koreans wasn't bad. At least, they hadn't heard of boycotting Korean products or smashing Korean Hyundai and Kia cars. Why? This was the influence of the Korean TV series on the Hua people. The men in the TV series were handsome, plastic surgery, the women were beautiful, plastic surgery, and even the old people were dressed very well. Although the male and female protagonists spoke a bit impulsively, they were very polite. It also showed the cuteness of the Koreans, so the Hua people's impression of the Koreans was quite good. Although Su Yun didn't have a good impression of the Koreans now, he still had to admit that the Koreans were very good at creating movies and TV series. This was even better than the Hua people. Even if it was a zombie movie with a cliché plot, Train to Busan, it also interpreted all aspects of human nature very well. This was something that Su Yun truly admired. Because of the influence of the Korean TV series, what was the impression of the Hua people of the Koreans? Handsome, beautiful, polite, rich, romantic, and so on. Why? Because the actors in the Korean TV series were basically like this. Think about the roles played by the 5 billion movie king in Crazy Stone or Bullfight. If it was a Korean actor, could he play it? The Koreans had always been the idol type, so the Hua people only saw the handsome and beautiful image. They only saw the rich side of the Koreans and didn't see the side of the Koreans who could only eat kimchi. But the Koreans in reality were really not the romantic handsome men and beautiful women in movies and TV series. The Koreans in real life were really disgusting. The Koreans said that Chinese characters were invented by the Koreans. Everyone should have heard of this, right? When the Koreans said that Korea's territory includes the 3 northeastern provinces, how many Hua people were shocked? Su Yun also realized at that time that this little neighbor turned out to be such a scheming B***tch. He really couldn't help but sigh. The two countries were so close, and the Hua helped Korea so much, but the Koreans' actions made people feel that they were so despicable. It was really unpleasant. Chapter 3381. Su Yun had told Ruan Qingshuang and Zhuo Meiyan about his unhappiness. Therefore, the two of them were very supportive of Su Yun's plan to control the blatant money laundering of Korean artists in the entertainment industry. No matter what decision Su Yun made on this matter, they would obey unconditionally. When Su Yun's control of Korean artists appeared, Korea was in complete chaos. The stock prices of all the major entertainment companies plummeted. Those entertainment giants in the past lost a lot of money. All the Korean artists were also flustered. All of them were deeply worried about their future. Even the experts in Korea's financial industry came out to make a statement, saying that the future growth of Korea's entertainment industry was driven by Hwaseong. As everyone knew, most of the Korean artists' salaries in Hwaseong were as high as tens of millions. It was normal for their salaries to be dozens of times higher than in Korea. It could be said that Soo-yeon's control this time was a big blow to Korea's entertainment industry. Moreover, Soo-yeon's actions were approved by the leaders of the relevant departments of the country. A certain department of the country also stepped in to cooperate. This control was even more obvious, especially for some imported Korean dramas and reality shows. There would be strict control. Soo-yeon did not think that it was overboard at all. Think about how the Koreans treated Hwaseong people. In a Korean fighting reality show, the Koreans attacked and beat up Hwaseong's contestants a few times for no reason. They even said that they wanted to fight and there was no other reason. Such a shameless and despicable act was actually praised by the other Korean team members as it felt good to watch. What kind of quality did the Koreans have? What kind of manners were they showing? This was a world of difference from what they had seen in the TV series. There was also that Korean plastic surgery dog called Park Bao Bao. In a commercial, he played chess with someone called the Great Wall. Not only did the commercial vilify the Great Wall, but it also arranged for a woman to slap the Great Wall in the face, causing everyone to laugh. In the end, the Great Wall lost the game. What was the meaning of the Great Wall? At that time, Soo-yeon wanted to take a plane to Korea and find the producer, creator, and the B** starred who shot the advertisement. He wanted to ask them face to face what they meant. Who didn't know that the Great Wall represented Hwaseong? Many Hwaseong people knew the saying, "You're not a real man if you don't reach the Great Wall." Therefore, the Great Wall was a very important symbol for Hwaseong. Furthermore, the Koreans had arranged for an ugly woman to slap the face of the Great Wall. That was equivalent to slapping Hwaseong's face. From this, it could be seen that the Koreans really looked down on Hwaseong from the bottom of their hearts. As for those Korean artists who looked down on Hwaseong and insulted Hwaseong behind their backs, they still used a pleasing face to earn money from Hwaseong. If it was anyone else, they would not be able to tolerate it. Furthermore, with Soo-yeon's temper as a soldier, it was even more impossible for him to tolerate such humiliation. Belittling and humiliating Hwaseong while earning money from Hwaseong, wasn't it outrageous? Shouldn't this kind of ugly face be fiercely slapped? At the very least, Soo-yeon absolutely could not tolerate such things happening. Many Koreans belittling Hwaseong had already made him unhappy. Jin Han-bang was like a fuse that ignited the anger in Soo-yeon's heart. It could be said that this guy's actions had harmed the entire Korean entertainment industry. Although even without this foolish young man, Jin Han-bang, lighting the fire in the middle, Soo-yeon would still be prepared to make a move on the Korean entertainment industry. It was not for anything else, but for the fishing boats that were bullied by Korea. Those fishermen who were killed by the Koreans. Didn't Korea use public opinion to hype up the matter? Didn't they already announce that they would fire and ram Hwaseong's fishing boats? Looking at how agitated the Koreans were, and the Korean government's permission to fire the cannons, this was simply a collective outbreak of nationalism in the entire country. The Korean media even wantonly accused Hwaseong's fishermen of being the public enemy of the world, and even claimed that Hwaseong's fishermen were pirates. They even promoted that the Yellow Sea had become a real battlefield, advocating that Korea use warships to fight against Hwaseong's fishermen. The most exaggerated thing was that Korea used too few bullets against Hwaseong's fishermen. Fortunately, Korea, a small country, only had ordinary warships. With their attitude of using whatever they have, if they really had aircraft carriers and atomic bombs, the media might have called for the use of aircraft carriers or atomic bombs to bomb Hwaseong's fishermen. At the end of the day, fishermen were people who went to the sea to make a living. They were classified as a vulnerable group in this society. Although they could not be protected because they were weak, they had to be punished if they made mistakes. However, there was one thing that had to be said. Some of them were really not cultured and had a weak concept of the rule of law. Sometimes, they would catch more fish just to bring back more money for their wives and children. They definitely had no intention of violating other countries' territorial waters. After all, Fishermen were not the army. They would not directly open fire and kill people, right? There would definitely be misunderstandings if the maritime boundary separated the traditional fishing grounds. If Korea's fishermen accidentally entered Hwasea's sea territory to fish, with Hwasea's demeanor as a big country, they would definitely not kill them, right? Hwasea would definitely control the fishermen who crossed the border, but they would definitely not use violence. They would send them back unharmed. Let me explain this problem to you properly. If Hwasea's warships really crossed the border, Korea could hit them all you want. If you used an atomic bomb to sink them, you could only blame Hwasea's warships for not having eyes. You deserved it. However, that was not a warship. It was an unarmed fishing boat. Think about it. If Hwasea's warships really drove directly into Korea's sea territory, would Korea's weak maritime forces still dare to make a move? It was not that Hwasea's situation had not been explained before. Hwasea could not strictly control all the fishermen and boats. Hwasea's grassroots governance in Hwasea had not reached such a deep level because the population of Hwasea was too large. If it were any other country, they would find it difficult because of this. However, Hwasea did not let the fishing disputes at sea go unchecked. Over the years, Hwasea's fishermen crossed the border to fish less and less. If it were neighbors in the past, everyone would put the fish for dinner in the same fish tank. If anyone caught an extra fish, they would say sorry and understand each other. The other person who caught an extra fish would definitely feel that he or she owed a favor and would make up for it in other ways. Hwasea had always been making up for some small mistakes that were not in place. This was obvious to everyone. Korea was like a narrow-minded neighbor in this matter. He would definitely not remember your kindness. He would not remember that you made dumplings and sent him a plate. He would not remember that you made hot pot and invited him to eat together. He would only remember that you caught an extra fish in the shared fish tank between the two families. How could one get along with a neighbor like this? It was really too difficult to get along with. In addition, what made Soo-yoon completely disappointed was that Korea actually accepted the deployment of the THAAD system. This terminal high-altitude area defense system was completely targeted at Hwasea. Korea directly ignored the advice and negotiations from Hwasea's official and public diplomacy channels. The unceremonious deployment of the THAAD system was not a matter of Korea's self-protection, but a strategic choice that completely leaned toward the U.S. empire. Even a blind person could see that the U.S. empire's real purpose of deploying the THAAD system in Korea was to protect the U.S. empire's military base in Korea, as well as the safety of the U.S. empire's landing zone in the future. The Korean government knew this fact, but they colluded with the people of their country to deceive Hwasea, their strategic partner. Only king idiot who harmed others without benefiting themselves would make such a decision. To put it bluntly, Korea's decision to deploy the THAAD system was completely to take advantage of other people's difficulties. They wanted to stab Hwasea in the back. They just couldn't bear to see Hwasea doing well. They didn't want Hwasea to become strong. They just wanted to cause trouble for Hwasea and make Hwasea extremely annoyed. That woman was cunning. In Eastern culture, what was taking advantage of other people's difficulties? It was the despicable behavior of a despicable person. Korea was really heartless and unrighteous. Therefore, Soo-yoon felt that why couldn't Hwasea teach them a lesson? She didn't need to do anything extreme. She just needed to restrict them a little in the entertainment industry, and they should know how much she needed Hwasea's market. Artists of Korea, bosses of entertainment companies, if you wanted to blame someone, you really couldn't blame Sky Entertainment Group, you really couldn't blame Soo-yoon. If you wanted to blame someone, blame that bitch in power in your own country. All day long, you don't know how awesome you are. Who gave you the right to force Hwasea? Could it be that you went to bed with Osama and added something to Osama? That's why you think you're so awesome? It was really hard to say what kind of shameful relationship this had. After all, this woman's words had a hint of awesome. Chapter 3382. Soo-yoon represented the Sky Entertainment Group and made his attitude towards the Korean artists clear. The entire Xia entertainment industry also gave face and cooperated. Within this month, the entire Xia almost lost contact with the Korean artists. In any case, the Xia celebrities couldn't make much money in Korea. Everyone knew that the Xia celebrities even changed their nationality. They were just Chinese and only liked to stay in Xia to develop their career. Putting aside the fact that they couldn't survive overseas with this bit of ability, even with the famous Kung Fu Lee of the Shaolin Temple, who had developed in Hollywood for so many years, he only had a few minutes of screen time in the Expendables series. This was already considered a very influential person in Xia's film and television industry. Therefore, to put it bluntly, not many domestic actors could do particularly well if they went overseas. Other than Jackie Chan, who also had box office appeal overseas, no one else dared to say the same. As for international stars, in the eyes of most foreigners, they were just famous social butterflies. They didn't even have a representative work. Therefore, the vast majority of people who went out to mingle could only mess around at the bottom. What would a big shot like the Windbreaker do if he went to Hollywood? He failed miserably. After all, the veteran actors overseas weren't any worse than the ones in China. The veteran actors in China didn't have the time to develop foreign movies. They were more willing to contribute their art to the people in China. Those who liked to go out and play had no competitiveness at all. Why could a kung fu superstar succeed? Because Xia's kung fu was a special existence with real talent, so it had an advantage. Those who didn't have any real talent or special abilities and just liked to go out and play around were definitely the result of being played and abandoned. This led to more and more people wanting to stay in Xia to earn money. Even those who had changed their nationality still liked to stay in Xia to earn money. The reason was very simple. Xia was a place where people were stupid and rich. Moreover, the people would see them as big shots. This place allowed people like them, who were playing around but didn't succeed, to still find status and respect. Although they were nothing in foreign countries, and even the dogs on the roadside wouldn't look them in the eye, they could feel the need to wear sunglasses and a mask when they went out in China. If it weren't for the fact that they weren't beautiful enough, they would have bought a motorcycle helmet and put it on their heads. The environment of Xia's entertainment industry led to Korean artists wanting to participate in it. Looking at the whole world, it was a little too abrupt for Europeans and Americans to come to Xia. How many other countries in the Asian region came to Xia? The Japanese definitely wouldn't come. It wasn't easy for the Japanese to make a living in Xia. The Xia people already had ethnic sentiments. As for the artists from the South Asian region, it was not easy for them to develop in Xia. Their aesthetic standards were different. Just take the U Country Trio for example. They had completely conquered the eyes of the Xia people. They were all blinded by their brilliance. This directly caused Xia people to have great doubts about the aesthetics of the South Asian entertainment industry. Therefore, it was basically impossible for the artists there to develop much in Xia. Other than some artists from new countries who could meet the standards of Xia and sang well and were talented, there was only one Korean who walked the path of idols. This made the artists of Korea squeeze their heads to develop in Xia. Now that Soo-Yun's Sky Entertainment Group was the first to close the door to their development in China, the bosses of the entertainment giants naturally targeted Soo-Yun. In a short period of time, Sky Entertainment Group received many invitations. All of them wanted to invite Soo-Yun to the Korean entertainment industry to be a director. This really gave Soo-Yun a headache. After all, Soo-Yun's influence on the Korean entertainment industry was too great. Soo-Yun felt that it would be too easy for people to throw rotten eggs and cabbage at him if he went. Moreover, the Koreans were so thrifty when it came to eating cabbage. In order to save money, they would soak it until it was spicy and salty. If it was thrown at him, how smelly would it be? After Soo-Yun expressed his concern, Soo-Yun said, "I'm sorry." Zhuo Meiyan expressed her different opinion. "Don't worry, no one in Korea will be willing to throw cabbage at you. The cabbage in Korea is very expensive. Do you think it's as cheap as wholesale in China?" Soo-Yun thought for a moment and nodded. "That's true. Their cabbage is too expensive. They won't throw it at me. Korea's prices don't allow them to throw it around. Zhuo smiled bitterly. I always hear people complain about the National Development and Reform Commission and the Bureau of Commodity Prices. If I go to Korea for a few days, they will probably praise me when I come back. Last summer, I went to Korea for a meeting and suddenly wanted to eat watermelon. I went to a small supermarket and casually picked a small watermelon. The bill was 20,000 won. 20,000? Su Yun was stunned. It should be known that in Korea, the God's job, the Korean civil servants, who had a high income in Korea, only earned about 4 million won a month. In other words, the Korean clergy's monthly salary was only enough to buy 200 watermelons. How much did a big watermelon cost in Hwaseong? Especially in summer, when watermelons were falling, a dozen caddies of watermelons would only cost 7 to 8 renminbi. 200 watermelons would only cost 1,500 renminbi. Based on this logic, most people in Hwaseong would earn more than the clergy in Korea. Did you see wrongly? They saw that you are from Hwaseong and purposely cheated you, right? Ruan Qingshuang could not believe it. I should have brought you with me the last time I went there. Zhuo said. You don't know. If you are a guest in Korea, if you give their host a few caddies of pork ribs, the host will feel like they have received a very expensive gift. In China, you give them a few caddies of pork ribs? They will think that you are purposely trying to scare them because they can't afford meat. Ruan Qingshuang nodded. In China, people would really feel this way. Unless they were close relatives, who would give pork ribs to friends. It was worthless. You might not believe me, but you have all watched Korean dramas. Take the one in Miss Mermaid for example. A man and a woman come back from their honeymoon. When the man suggests having barbecue, the woman widens her eyes and says that it is very expensive. The man says that it is fine and that it is rare to have barbecue. This is a drama in their own country. Bai Xiaoye also said, that is indeed the case over there. Zhuo seemed to have found a confidant. See? I didn't say it myself, right? Xiaoye, you know the situation over there too. I have been to Korea before. They don't seem to have any cooking oil. It is impossible to eat stir-fried vegetables there. There is a buffet in this hotel. Every meal is kimchi and iced water. There is not a drop of oil. Meat is also rare. I am not a picky eater, but I can't eat my fill over there, Bai Xiaoye complained. Zhuo nodded. Now you know why there are not many fat people in Korea. The average income of an ordinary person is only about 10,000 renminbi. The cheapest pork on the market is 100 renminbi, and beef is about 300 to 400 renminbi per caddy. How can they afford it? The food in Korea is much more expensive than the electronic products. Bai Xiaoye stuck out her tongue. It seems that the melodramatic scenes in Korean dramas where terminal diseases are mentioned are not caused by the scriptwriters. It is really caused by malnutrition. Ruan Qingshuang also seemed to understand. No wonder when we allowed foreign artists to study in Hwaseong, Park Sung-gun was shocked by the banquet on the first day. He said that it was his first time coming to Hwaseong. He could not believe that our food was so sumptuous. He just debuted and does not know much. Usually, the trainees eat at a square table for 4 people at most. One main dish, 4 small plates of kimchi, a glass of iced water, and a portion of rice per person, Ruan Qingshuang said. Speaking of which, they are really pitiful. They can't even eat their fill. The reason why the trainees in Hwaseong who went to Korea usually do better in the group and have a higher status is because of their economic foundation. Their families are well off, so they can eat well. The Koreans you are talking about are really pitiful. Su Yun said with a wry smile, I've never been to Korea, but they talk about it quite well. Something about Asia's financial center. When I went to Guangzhou for the first time, the Koreans told me that Guangzhou was the financial center of Asia, something like that. Zhuo was speechless. After I went there, I realized how ridiculous it was. There was not a single trash can on the street. The road was full of cigarette butts and confetti, and the pedestrian street was full of trash. We are used to a 20-meter trash can in China, so we can't adapt to the road conditions there. The Koreans seem to be very used to throwing trash away casually. Su-yun scratched his head. Didn't they say that the Koreans are very cultured? They can even clean up after eating in KFC. It's true. They really clean up by themselves. However, this has nothing to do with cultured manners. In Korea, no one will clean up after you eat. You have to clean up by yourself. Zhuo Meiyan rolled her eyes when she said this. Chapter 3383. My worldview has been overturned by your words. Su-yun was truly astonished. He wasn't joking. If your family doesn't have much money, then don't study in Korea. Although many unnecessary things there are cheaper than in China, especially electronic products, eating is the most important thing. If you can't even afford to eat, then you can't even throw a note 7 out as a bomb. Zhuo Meiyan waved her hand. Bai Xiaoye suddenly laughed. I remember a joke. Someone asked what's the difference between the Korean and Korean peninsulas. The answer is that the southern peninsula is a place where you can eat kimchi, while the northern peninsula is a place where you can't eat kimchi. That's cold. Su-yun sweated. You won't know if you can eat kimchi for a few days. That joke isn't cold at all. Bai Xiaoye glared at him. Zhuo Meiyan suddenly had an idea. Yeah, we should let him eat kimchi for a few days. He knows what it's like to be a Napa. What's going on? You want me to accept their invitation? Su-yun immediately became alert. You know my position. I don't want to go. I don't want to interact with their circle anymore. What's the point of going? Ruan Qingxuang supported Zhuo Meiyan on this point. I don't think you'll lose anything by going there. There will probably be a lot of people flattering you. Anyway, there's nothing big going on recently. You can just go and relax. I can't stand those official meetings. Forget it. Su-yun waved his hand. If you don't go, the invitations will keep coming. I dare say they will come to you for benefits. You'll be in a lot of trouble then, Zhuo Meiyan said. I think they want you to go because they want to show you Korea's entertainment culture. They don't want you to give up on them. If you want to go, you can go. I'm not going. Su-yun made it clear. Let Qingxuang go with you. You can take it as a relaxing trip. What's wrong with that? Someone will receive you when you go. It's a good thing, Zhuo Meiyan said. That's settled. I'll reply to them. Wait a minute. You replied, go ahead. Su-yun, as long as it's something like this, how can it be a distraction? They'll definitely stuff it full of time. There's no time for me to play. Ruan Qingxuang thought for a moment. How about this? Let Meiyan go with you. Meiyan is more familiar with the senior management of Korea Entertainment Company, and she can speak Korean. After we arrive, let her deal with those troubles, and you will have time to relax. Su-yun was stunned. It's not like I haven't been there before, Zhuo Meiyan said. You should go. I don't understand Korean, and I'm not familiar with the Korean entertainment circle. When I'm there, I'll definitely ask Su-yun to do everything. That's not letting him relax, Ruan Qingxuang insisted. It's easier for you to deal with it. You can also give him some time to himself. Bai Xiaoye tried to smooth things over. Why don't you all go together? It's just one more person. That won't do. Ruan Qingxuang rejected directly. If we all go, you'll be giving them too much face. That's not good. After all, our position is very clear. Since our position is clear, we shouldn't pay attention to them. Su-yun, just do as I said. Just ignore them. Who cares what they are? Ignore them. If you want to play, we can go by ourselves. Zhuo Meiyan said, Isn't this mainly to make them give up? I don't want them to keep bothering us like this. Isn't it better to give them a quick death? Isn't it better to let them give up? Ruan Qingxuang also insisted. Su-yun didn't know what to do now. Everyone wanted him to go. If he insisted, he would seem unsociable. Then we'll go and slap them in the face? This will really make them give up completely. Su-yun, if they do anything overboard, I'll fall out with them on the spot. Don't blame me then. Of course not. Ruan Qingxuang nodded. I believe that with Mei Yan following you, you'll be able to control the situation. You're the one accompanying him to relax. Zhuo Meiyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How did it become me accompanying him to work? There are some things that you have to face if you go, Ruan Qingxuang said. Think about it. If I'm with him, can I control him? If he falls out with them and blows things up, I won't be able to clean up the mess. Zhuo Meiyan didn't seem to mind. If he falls out with them, then so be it. Anyway, we don't plan to continue working with them in the future, right? But there's no need to ruin our relationship before coming back. Ruan Qingxuang insisted. After all, we've worked together before. The reputation of the entire Asian entertainment industry can't be tarnished because of them. To put it more bluntly, art doesn't discriminate between countries. We should give them face. As for whether we still want to slap them in the face, it depends on their performance. Su Yun felt that Ruan Qingxuang's words were quite reasonable. In fact, your biggest prejudice isn't against the Korean entertainment industry. Ruan Qingxuang had already seen through Su Yun. Su Yun nodded and didn't deny it. I just have a problem with the woman leading their country. Now that woman is pitiful enough. Zhuo Meiyan's voice was full of sarcasm. Korea's economy has been hit one after another. Not only have we blocked their entertainment industry, but Hanjin has also faced bankruptcy. Then, their economic pillar, Samsung's mobile phone, has exploded. Hyundai and Kia, the two automobile manufacturers, have also been neglected by the automobile industry because of their lack of sincerity in Huaxia. These series of impacts are enough to make her cry. Yes, the most ridiculous thing is that Abe III took the opportunity to humiliate Korea and settle the issue of the comfort women with 1 billion yen. Bai Xiaoye disdainfully said. Everyone said that the Japanese were ruthless, but the Koreans were too cowardly. With such a stupid agreement, the Japanese remitted 1 billion yen to the Korean Comfort Women Foundation. Now, the issue of the comfort women was finally and irreversibly solved. This was a complete disdain of the Japanese. Since the Koreans had taken the money, they didn't deserve a written apology, and the Japanese wouldn't accept any additional conditions. Even the Koreans had signed such an agreement. It was a great humiliation. How could the Koreans, led by this woman, use their history of aggression to do business? It was the biggest joke in the world. Why did this woman sign such a humiliating agreement with the Japanese? The fundamental reason was that the Koreans, under the bewitchment of the United States, hoped to quickly improve the relationship between the two countries and accelerate the development of the alliance between the three countries. In this way, the wall in the east of Huaxia could be built. Now that Korea was humiliated by the Japanese, it could be said that it was really awkward. That was because Korea was the humiliated party in this matter. In the end, decades of humiliation were bought off by the Japanese with such a small amount of money. This was really a big surprise. Signing such a humiliating agreement with the Japanese, what kind of position would Korea have in the alliance? Even the Japanese could look down on Korea and trample on them. What about the United States? Even Japan was nothing but a small dog in the eyes of the United States. After Korea and the Japanese signed this humiliating agreement, they were no different from the wild chickens sold on the streets in the eyes of the United States. There was really no difference after signing this agreement. Why did the Japanese say that this problem was solved and that they wouldn't accept any additional conditions? Korea wouldn't be able to blame the Japanese in the future? Because they had paid. In society, the kind of relationship that didn't pay was called coercion. It was legal responsibility, and the victim had the right to sue. But if they paid, how could that kind of relationship be called coercion? That was called prostitution. That was a kind of king sex business. The one who sold and the one who bought, no one had the right to criticize the other. No one had the right to use morality to speak ill of the other party. Who had ever seen a pheasant take her customer's money and then accuse her customer of humiliating her? Korea, this stupid woman, was settled by Abe's third brother with just a few tens of millions of RMB. The entire image of Korea changed from a forced family to a wild chicken by the roadside. With such a person, who would look up to Korea? Thinking about the stupid things that this stupid woman did after she came to power, Soo-yoon felt a chill in his heart. Hwa Xia had always treated Korea well and treated them with respect. But what did Korea do? They were in cahoots with the United States to deploy THAAD on Korea's land and threaten Hwa Xia's national security. After the damn Samsung Note 7 exploded, mobile phones all over the world were recalled immediately, including the United States, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and other places. Only the Samsung mobile phones in Hwa Xia were not recalled in time. They were still being sold. Between countries, you have me, and I have you. This was what it meant to help each other. With such differential treatment, did Korea really want to be friends with Hwa Xia? Korea thought that it would be safe and sound once it caught the Made in China company. Finally, it pushed this scourge to the Chinese. However, the heavens were watching. After some investigation, it was found that this Made in China company was wholly owned by Korea Samsung. There was no interference from Hwa Xia. Korea was really slapping herself in the face, and she slapped herself in the face in front of the whole world. Although a month later, Samsung also recalled the mobile phones in Hwa Xia. Why was that? Because that woman surnamed Park knew that Korea's economy had to rely on Hwa Xia. She wanted to beg Hwa Xia to help Korea. This was completely a kind of goodwill with a purpose. Shameless *tch, she still played Hwa Xia like idiots. Chapter 3384. It's settled. Bring Soo-yoon to Korea. Ruan Qingxuang said, "Leave the company to me for now. I've been quite free recently, and I don't have much pressure. Plus, Xiaoye can help me. Sister Feng Ying and Pigeon can help me share the burden. I can even make time to go back to my hometown." At this point, Zhuo Meiyan didn't decline any further. "All right, I'll take him there and let him take a walk. Leave the offending matter to me." "Don't. Leave it to me. Even if I offend them, they'll still mess with me." Soo-yoon said, "It's not like I don't have a passport. They won't chase me out of Korea, right?" "That's not necessarily true. That depends on whether or not you've offended him or not." Bai Xiaoye rolled her eyes. "If you really go to Chongwadi and call Ms. Park *tch, I think you'll really be chased out." "Am I that kind of person? What kind of person do you think I am?" Soo-yoon waved his hand. "I'm a person with good manners. I don't dare to say anything else, but at least I won't curse like a shrew. I won't be an idiot who gets a little help from a strong backer." Bai Xiaoye shrugged. "I just can't control his sarcastic mouth." Zhuo Meiyan said indifferently, "Anyway, we're at home. He can say whatever he wants. He won't say anything outside. If the pro-Korean faction hears him, they'll curse him. I'm really not afraid of them. I'm just like that. I say what's on my mind." Soo-yoon said, "I don't care if it's right or wrong. At least in my heart, I don't think I'm wrong. I'm just telling the truth. If they don't like it, they can scold me. I can't see or hear them anyway." "You're so magnanimous." Ruan Qingxuang shook her head helplessly. Zhuo Meiyan stood up. "Since it's settled, I'll reply to Korea now. Call Pigeon and ask him to tell little Feng Ye to help us book the tickets." "Let me give Feng Ye a call." Bai Xiaoye said, "Big sister Qingxuang, go and help my brother choose some clothes. Don't dress so casually when you're out of the country. Others will laugh at you." Ruan Qingxuang nodded. "Then it's necessary. If he's just representing himself, it's fine. But once he goes abroad, he's representing Sky Entertainment Group and Hwa Xia. He has to dress up well. Your brother's aura is here. Even if I go out in sportswear, no one will dare to do anything." Soo-yoon waved his hand. "Wearing a suit and tie is for important occasions. I'm going to Korea to play, so of course I'll wear sportswear comfortably. Find me a suitable set of Li-ning, including socks and shoes. I'll wear Li-ning. And Ta or 361 degrees will do. As long as it's locally produced, prepare a set for me." Ruan Qingxuang felt a little helpless. She nodded, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Given Su Yun's stubborn temper, if he said that, he would really do it. He was definitely not joking. Zhua Meiyan agreed, "That's a good idea. Then I'll wear Li Ning sportswear." Big Sister Meiyan, do you have Li Ning sportswear? Do you have Li Ning sneakers? Bai Xiaoye said helplessly, "Don't tell me it's Li Ning. There's nothing in your wardrobe that's related to sports, okay?" Zhua Meiyan stuck out her tongue, "Then I'll go and buy two." "Even the t-shirt you wear in the morning is Gucci," Bai Xiaoye said helplessly. "I'm forced by circumstances. I have to maintain my image for the sake of Sky Entertainment Group." Zhua Meiyan shook her head helplessly. "You don't know how hard I've been all these years. Now that Sky Entertainment Group's foundation is stable, I really shouldn't care about those external things." Su Yun nodded in agreement. "You shouldn't care. Let's go. Let's go and buy clothes." Zhua Meiyan left immediately. "Today, everyone will wear 2 sets of Li Ning. Next month, we'll change the clothes given out by the company to Li Ning. I'll call Big Sister Feng Ying and tell her that we don't want Nike or Adidas anymore. The quality isn't even as good as Li Ning's. Li Ning's quality is good. Wade's condition is getting better after he signed Li Ning. He's already in his 30s, but he can still play professional basketball for a few more years," Su Yun said. "Didn't he get injured when he signed Nike's AJ sneakers?" Women weren't interested in the NBA, so no one paid any attention to Su Yun's words. They all got up and got ready to go to the mall. The next day, in the first-class cabin of the flight to Korea, a man and a woman were wearing the same gray Li Ning sportswear and Li Ning Matrix running shoes. The people who were flying overseas were quite surprised and puzzled when they saw this scene. After all, even the people in economy class were wearing imported brands. The people in first class were all wearing luxurious clothes. Even the sportswear had to be from the international brand Nike. Otherwise, they would look like country bumpkins. This point had to be admitted. Many Huaxia people who thought they were fashionable would treat wearing locally made clothes as country bumpkins. It seemed that if they didn't wear foreign brands, they wouldn't be able to show off their Western style. Li Ning was also an international brand, okay? If Huaxia people hadn't been led to buy Nike and Adidas by those so-called fashionistas, Li Ning's sales would have been #1 in the world. After all, the population base was there. Even if their skills weren't as good as others, their sales would definitely not be a problem. It was like Yao Ming playing in the NBA. He was an all-star. Of course, Yao Ming deserved to be an all-star. If it was ED, as long as he could get into the NBA, he would definitely be voted an all-star. Since they were supporting local athletes, they might as well support local sportswear brands. The man and woman in Li Ning's couple outfit were Su Yun and Zhua Meiyan. Zhua Meiyan really enjoyed this feeling. Wearing sportswear felt free and unrestrained. It was a completely different feeling from wearing fashionable clothes. Zhua Meiyan, who hadn't enjoyed the feeling of wearing fashionable clothes for so many years, felt especially high at this moment. What if I really don't want to wear fashionable clothes and high heels in the future? Zhua Meiyan said. If you don't want to wear them, then don't wear them. Su Yun, in the future, unless it's a very formal occasion, there's really no need to make yourself so uncomfortable. Forget it. I can only dream about it. Zhua Meiyan said helplessly. After this, I'll obediently wear formal clothes. If the domestic media really does have a few haters who write a few reports, Sky Entertainment will be affected. Hearing Zhua Meiyan's words, Su Yun's heart ached. When he thought about how this woman always put Sky Entertainment first, he was very touched. The plane took off. The two covered themselves with a blanket and spent the flight comfortably. Zhua Meiyan and Su Yun softly talked about Sky Entertainment's future plans and prospects. There were some things that Su Yun didn't expect, which made Su Yun blush with shame. After all, he hadn't been in Sky Entertainment's circle for a day or two, but he still didn't really understand the essence of the entertainment industry. To put it bluntly, the essence of the entertainment industry wasn't how many famous stars they had signed. It was how Sky Entertainment had a real position in the circle. Once Sky Entertainment had mastered the law of making whoever they wanted famous, they were a giant in the industry. The law of making whoever they wanted famous was something that could be slowly explored. Just like how Lao Gua made Little Yaya famous. Lao Gua himself said that Little Yaya's popularity and success weren't a special case. They could be replicated. Making Little Yaya famous first was only the first great success of Lao Gua's plan to make a famous person famous. As long as he grasped this principle, he could make his son famous in a short period of time. This was the unique reason why the Gua family was able to make crosstalk so profitable. It had to be said that a person's success was inseparable from their brains. To put it bluntly, this was a social status that only people with brains could achieve. In the same industry, there were those who could become famous and those who couldn't eat a full meal their whole life. This was like the two-people rotation. There were Zhao Jiabon's success, Ben Shan's success, and Northeastern two-people rotation actors who couldn't eat on the streets. Although 10% of the success was due to hard work, 90% was due to luck. To put it bluntly, it was the same in any industry. As long as you mastered a law, you could become a giant in the industry. Even online novel websites were the same. As long as you mastered a law, people with the same writing skills could be promoted one after another. What was this called? This was called a pattern. Using the same pattern to promote a group of people, in the end, it was luck that made them famous. However, the pattern was fixed. After chatting for so long, Su Yun slowly understood why Sky Entertainment had such a huge position in the entertainment industry. To put it bluntly, it was because Sky Entertainment had mastered this law and the technology to make artists famous. The most important part of this technology was connections. Chapter 3385. The flight from Qingdao to Korea was very close. Su Yun hadn't had enough of this business model when the plane was about to land. Actually, Korea Entertainment Company is the best at this kind of flattery. Zhua Meiyan smiled. Sky Entertainment Group's success is due to Korea Entertainment Group's business model. I personally learned from it. Su Yun smiled and nodded. So that's why you've been coming to Korea every year. So it's to learn from them. Yes. Zhua Meiyan said. Mr. Lu Sun published an article called The Bringing Doctrine. It was after I read The Bringing Doctrine that I decided to come to Korea Entertainment Group to learn from them. If I remember correctly, Mr. Lu Sun wrote an article criticizing the traitorous policies of the KMT and some people's wrong attitude towards cultural heritage. He seemed to be criticizing the inheritance and borrowing of cultural heritage and foreign culture. You can even relate this to Sky Entertainment Group's business model? Su Yun said. Your imagination is too exaggerated. Of course I know that the main purpose of this article is to criticize and promote something. Zhua Meiyan said, but the principles behind it are universal. Su Yun nodded. Indeed, Mr. Lu Sun's articles were always easy to understand and thought-provoking. The Bringing Doctrine was a simple principle. Learn from the good and don't learn from the bad. Imitate the right and don't imitate the wrong. This principle was very good whether it was applied to a country, a company, or an individual. Zhua Meiyan's ability to draw inferences from one case was indeed very good. Perhaps it was because of Zhua Meiyan's decision that Sky Entertainment Group's entertainment empire rose earlier than Zhang Taisui expected. This was Zhua Meiyan's ability. Do you know why I said this is the Bringing Doctrine? Zhua Meiyan said. Su Yun hesitated for a moment. This means that there are some bad things in it that you haven't learned. No. Zhua Meiyan said. The messy unspoken rules in Korea Entertainment Group must be removed. Those things brought to Hua Xiar Entertainment Group won't do any good. Instead, it will corrupt the industry. That's right. When Korea Entertainment Company mastered this efficient model, the competition for artists will naturally increase, Su Yun nodded. If they want to be famous earlier, they will definitely use the unspoken rules. Not to mention the artists, even the entertainment companies themselves use the unspoken rules as a means. Zhuo shook her head helplessly. That's their bad side. I didn't learn anything from them. This is very serious in Korea's entertainment industry. Su Yun nodded. Thinking about those videos that leaked out of Korea's entertainment circle, he knew that Korea's entertainment circle was much messier than Hua Xia's entertainment circle. It's better not to learn this. Su Yun smiled bitterly. Our circle is already messy enough. If we learn from them, wouldn't it be even messier? Apart from this, there's another thing I didn't bring to learn, Zhuo said, and that is how to control artists. Su Yun was startled when he heard this. Actually, it wasn't that Sky Entertainment Group didn't manage to retain artists over the years. Although Sky Entertainment Group had been working hard in this aspect, they still didn't do a good job. Why didn't you bring their experience? Su Yun asked. Zhuo smiled slightly. I believe you'll know when you arrive. Their methods. They are indeed a little too powerful. I don't think it's humane, so I didn't bring it to learn. Su Yun nodded. But to be honest, they are really good at controlling artists, Zhuo said with emotion. With a slight bump, the plane landed. Su Yun and Zhuo walked out of the passage one after the other. When they walked out of the terminal, they saw a group of formally dressed people waiting to receive them. One of them, a short tall beauty, recognized Su Yun and Zhuo at a glance. She quickly walked up to them. Hello, Chairman Su. Hello, Chairman Zhuo. Because this short man could speak Chinese, he was in charge of receiving Zhuo plane several times. Therefore, he was already familiar with Zhuo. He bowed 90 degrees first to Su Yun, then to Zhuo. The 7 or 8 people behind the short man also bowed and greeted them. In fact, they were quite embarrassed. They had originally planned to help Su Yun and Zhuo with their luggage. Who would have thought that Su Yun and Zhuo would travel so lightly? Other than the Li Ning sports bag that Su Yun was carrying, they didn't have anything else. The short man bowed enthusiastically. The 7 or 8 people who were dressed formally also bowed. Su Yun and Zhuo immediately stood out in the crowd. Most of the people who walked out of the exit together were tourists from Hua Xia. At first, they didn't pay much attention to the 2 people who were dressed in Li Ning clothing. Now that they saw this scene, they understood why they were sitting in first class. The difference in treatment was like heaven and earth. The short man stepped forward and said to Su Yun, Chairman Su, give me your bag. We'll carry it for you. Su Yun didn't hesitate. He took off his bag and threw it to the short man. The short man had a flattering expression. He carefully handed the bag to the person next to him while smiling at Su Yun and Zhuo. There are quite a lot of people in your airport. It's more than Qingdao. However, compared to Beijing, which is also the capital, it's a far cry. It can't even compare to Shenzhen, Su Yun said directly. The short man didn't care whether Su Yun was right or not. He just nodded and said, yes, yes, yes. Of course, Beijing is powerful. Shenzhen is also very powerful. Even Qingdao will soon surpass us economically because of the Sky Entertainment Group. We've already surpassed them economically, Su Yun said lightly. I'm just talking about the number of people in the airport. The short man was a little embarrassed, but he still nodded and smiled. Yes, yes, we've already surpassed them. Haha. Facing these 2 bosses who were dressed so sporty and casual, the short man was really not used to it. In order to receive them at the airport, he took it very seriously. He wore an Armani suit that he hadn't eaten barbecued meat for 2 years. He didn't expect the 2 bosses of the Sky Entertainment Group to dress so low-key. They were both wearing sportswear, and it was even Hua Xia's domestic brand. Su Yun saw this guy's gaze on Li Ning's logo from the corner of his eye. He then looked at the author on the short man's feet. You like to wear Japanese brands? Su Yun smiled slightly. The short man was stunned for a moment. Then, he nodded awkwardly. I'm used to it. Looks like you Koreans really like Japanese brands. Su Yun smiled. I remember that when your female president appeared in the 2013 Korea Professional Baseball Finals, she was also wearing a pair of Arthurs. The short man really didn't notice this. He could only nod. Yes. Of course, Soo-yoon didn't pay attention to Korea's baseball. After all, there was still a gap between Korea's baseball and the American Major League Baseball. Putting aside whether the American Empire was the hegemony, the American Empire's Football League, Professional Basketball, and Professional Baseball League were all very entertaining sports. Therefore, even if Soo-yoon paid attention to baseball, he would watch the American Empire's MLB and not Korea's baseball games. Soo-yoon knew that the Korean female president wore Arthur because he accidentally saw the picture online. Say, when your president wore Japanese brands, did she think of the comfort women in Korea? Soo-yoon's words were really direct. The short man's face turned red. He didn't know how to answer or how to open his mouth. He could only smile awkwardly. This awkwardness came from the bottom of his heart. It was really too awkward, too awkward, too awkward. Not only did Soo-yoon mention their female president, but he also mentioned the issue of the comfort women. The Koreans knew very well about the humiliating treaty of 1 billion yen. After all, this matter was famous internationally. How could their own citizens not know about it? Forget it. Soo-yoon shook his head. You wouldn't know even if I told you. Maybe your female president saw that the American Empire's little 8 Ma was also wearing Arthur and wanted to get close to him. That's why she specially bought it to wear. Other than an awkward smile, the short man couldn't say a word to Soo-yoon. After completely making this guy speechless, Soo-yoon ignored him. Soo-yoon originally didn't plan to have a good chat with this guy. He just wanted to shut this flatterer's mouth. After walking out of the airport, the most luxurious car under Hyundai was waiting for Soo-yoon and Zwa Mei-yen at the entrance. After seeing this car, Zwa Mei-yen knew that Soo-yoon was definitely going to find fault with it. Chapter 3386. Is this all you've got? Soo-yoon said unhappily, Korean artists all drive European luxury cars. You used your Hyundai to pick me up? The short man didn't know how to respond. He could only look at Zwa Mei-yen for help, hoping that Zwa Mei-yen could speak up for him and get over this. Unfortunately, Zwa Mei-yen didn't intend to pay attention to him. Since you like Japanese so much and like Japanese products, you should change to Japanese cars. Soo-yoon, although the Japanese aren't as good, they're still quite good at making cars. Their engines are better than your Korean cars, they have fewer problems, and they're not any worse than your Korean cars. Your asking price is still so unrealistic. The short man nodded and opened the car door for Soo-yoon. Don't tell me you don't know? In the top 52 global car brands, your Hyundai and Kia are in the bottom 10 with our Hwaseong Dolly. Soo-yoon, it's not that I'm slandering Dolly, but do you think that when I attend any event in our country, someone will dare to pick me up with a Dolly car? Only you Koreans dare to do that. Embarrassment was written all over the short man's face. He really didn't know how to communicate with Soo-yoon. Soo-yoon was about to kill him. Don't be picky. Zwa Mei-yen said, Koreans have always been very narcissistic. It's not like you don't know this. They've always thought that what they have is the best. This is the complete opposite of our Hwaseong people. This was really a Korean characteristic. It might not be easy to talk about cars, but when it came to small things, such as beef, Korea's own Korean beef was definitely the most expensive kind, and imported beef was cheap. It was definitely not the case in China. Hwaseong's imported things were definitely much more expensive. There was no need to even think about it. Even if the imported things weren't good to begin with, Hwaseong would definitely regard them as better than domestic products. Of course, the biggest reason for this was not that Hwaseong people like to worship foreign countries, but that some companies in Hwaseong were too disappointing. They did not grasp the market well, which led to the foul atmosphere. If they had a conscience, they probably wouldn't have given the imported goods so many chances. The car took Soo-yoon and Zwa Mei-yen directly to Korea Entertainment Company. When the car stopped at the entrance of Korea Entertainment Company, Soo-yoon could feel that they were very important and respected. To exaggerate, all the higher-ups of Korea Entertainment Company were present. The president of the entertainment company was there, and all the presidents and leaders of the various departments were at the door to welcome them. When Soo-yoon and Zwa Mei-yen got out of the car, they really blinded everyone's eyes. "I'm not used to such enthusiasm. There's no need for that." Soo-yoon had no intention of appreciating it. This was because Soo-yoon knew very well that when these people had something to ask of him, there was no need to take their flattery seriously. Anyone would do such a thing when they had something to ask of him. Korea Entertainment Company's President Song walked forward and extended his hand to Soo-yoon. "President Soo, this is the first time we've met. Nice to meet you." Soo-yoon didn't raise his hand. He just nodded. "President Song, our President Soo doesn't like to talk much." Zwa Mei-yen's attitude was also quite cold. She remembered that when she first came to Korea Entertainment Company with the intention of learning, President Song was very arrogant and didn't say a single word to her. Later, as Sky Entertainment Company grew step by step, President Song began to express his goodwill to Zwa Mei-yen. Therefore, Zwa Mei-yen didn't have any friendship with President Song. She was even more aware of the relationship between the two parties. Now, it could be said more directly that Korea Entertainment Company was just using Sky Entertainment Company. In the past, when Korea Entertainment Company didn't do so many things that hurt the relationship between the two countries, Zwa Mei-yen didn't think that there was anything wrong with letting Korea Entertainment Company earn some money in Hwaseong. After all, they also entertained the public. Some TV series also made the people of Hwaseong more relaxed during their leisure time, so it wasn't a big deal to give them some money. But now, her thoughts were completely different. "President Zwa, we're old friends. Ha ha ha. How about this, let's go inside and talk." President Song put down his awkward right hand and covered everything with a smile. Although he was in a bad mood right now, since he had a favor to ask, he had to bow and bend his knees. "All right, I'm suddenly a bit hungry." Soo-yoon said to Zwa Mei-yen, "Why don't we find a special restaurant to eat first and then come back to talk?" Zwa Mei-yen saw that Soo-yoon didn't play by the rules and couldn't do anything about it. Of course, she had to give Soo-yoon face in front of outsiders. Okay then. This kind of disregard made President Song's expression even uglier. The other presidents of Korea Entertainment Company couldn't stand it anymore, but they didn't dare to say anything. After all, President Song had already said that they had to satisfy all the needs of these two VIPs no matter what. They had to treat them as guests that were more important than the president. After all, their president wouldn't bring them any benefits. Not only that, their president would only cause them trouble and make them lose money. Let's talk about the main reason why Hwaseong banned Korea. President Song knew that Sky Entertainment Company's Soo-yoon wouldn't blow things up just because of Kim Honbang. It was because of political reasons. This made President Song very unhappy with his president. That woman's actions to please the American Empire and Japan really made him very unhappy. He knew very well how much money he had lost, so it was natural for him to be angry. "Since the two of you are hungry, I'll take you to eat first." President Song invited. "I've already arranged a reception. Let's go now. I just want to eat some snacks." Soo-yoon didn't give him any face. President Song maintained his smile. "Then I'll take you to a good snack bar. I'm sure the two of you will like the taste there." Soo-yoon didn't refuse this time. He nodded. "Let's go." The grand reception ceremony ended without even waiting for Soo-yoon to enter the company. This unhappy parting had seriously damaged the enthusiasm of the employees of Korea Entertainment. Facing this ordinary-looking but extraordinary boss of Hwaseong, they didn't dare to be angry or say anything. For the sake of the big picture and his own interests, President Song was definitely tolerant of everything. This was something he had to do. Therefore, he didn't feel as aggrieved as an employee. Under President Song's lead, Soo-yoon and Zwa Mei-yen were brought to the most high-end snack bar in Gangnam District. This snack bar's business was very good. Many Hwaseong tourists would come to this place to try out the snacks. After all, this shop was high-end and had a full range of Korean snacks. The prices were also very respectable. It could only be said that the boss of this Korean restaurant had grasped the mentality of Hua people. Anyone who had the money to go out and have fun would definitely not eat the most cost-effective food. Instead, they would definitely eat the most respectable food. The whole world knew that Hua people wanted face. President Song seemed to know the boss of this shop. After a call, they received the best treatment and arrangements. The waiter led Su Yun and Zhua Meiyan to the most luxurious compartment in the shop. President Song also generously said that all the specialty snacks in the shop that represented Korea would be served. He had to treat his distinguished guests well. As they were important guests, the snack bar served the dishes very quickly. 8 plates of kimchi were served first. Of course, they were all pickled cabbage, radish, or other worthless things. At a glance, it was obvious that eating too much of it would cause cancer. After that, there were dishes such as fresh clam chicken with kimchi, fried rice cakes, roast beef, Korean rice sausage, soy sauce soup, kimchi rice, fish cakes, fish balls, crab, and ong stewed chicken, cold noodles, fried needlefish, fried squid with chili sauce, and so on. The table was quickly filled with a dazzling array of snacks. President Song seemed to be very proud. He looked as if he was showing the two of them Korean food culture. To him, these snacks from Korea were the most delicious in the world. They were also the most tasteful and representative. They were created by Koreans with high attainments in food. Therefore, he was very proud. Unfortunately, Su Yun didn't think so. Hua Xia's snacks were definitely better than Korea's. From Yenjing's stir-fried liver, tripe, pea cake, honey-fried dough twists, to Xinjiang's crab shell dumplings, Shaoxing chicken porridge, and Tianjin's braised vegetables, gubili steamed buns, fruit with club mallet, and spiced donkey meat. Then, from all over the country, there were all kinds of things like shaved noodles, beef and mutton steamed buns, chenjo guakue, ramen, pilaf, pan-fried buns, fresh meat dumplings, shrimp-fried eel noodles, huizhou biscuits, tofu skin rice, 5-spice buns, steamed crab roe siu mai, horse meat vermicelli, dragon wanshu, lai tangyuan, translucent beef, husband and wife lung slices, Yulangmian fish, roasted bao, crossbridge rice noodles, lotus leaf glutinous rice. It was really too many to count. The snacks in a single place could instantly defeat all of Korea. No, just an ordinary 20-square-meter Shaxian hotel in a small county town would be enough to make these Korean snacks dig a hole in the ground and hide in shame. Chapter 3387. Chairman Song gestured politely. Come, let's try it together. Wait a moment. Su Yun looked at the table of dishes and didn't seem to have much of an appetite. Are you joking with us? I want to eat snacks, and you're giving me these? Su Yun's ability to find fault really made Zhua Meiyan blush with shame. She felt ashamed of her inferiority. He was too picky, so picky that she almost couldn't hold back her laughter. Chairman Song's face instantly fell. He had taken out all of Korea's snacks. This was already all of his sincerity. Su Yun stirred the soy sauce soup a few times with a spoon and said with a frown, "This thing is like the swill in our Hua Xia restaurant. It's the kind where the leftover tofu stew, clams, and leftovers are poured into a bucket. It's like scooping out some water from a bucket of swill to heat it up." Chairman Song immediately understood what swill was. He couldn't help but feel nauseous. Looking at Chairman Song's expression, "You must know what swill is, right?" Su Yun said, "You're right. Swill isn't for humans to eat in China. It's used to rear pigs." Wait a minute. That's not right either. Pigs these days eat food, so they don't eat swill. Chairman Song's expression had already turned from embarrassment to ugly. I really didn't expect you Koreans to still eat such things in such an advanced society. Su Yun was quite surprised. Is this thing edible? It's actually quite delicious, but you haven't tried it yet, Chairman Song said with a livid expression. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. Maybe I really don't have the courage. After all, this thing doesn't look good. It looks too much like swill. Who asked us Hua people to pay attention to color, aroma, and taste when eating? Chairman Song suppressed his anger. Since this doesn't suit Chairman Su's taste, try something else. I believe it will definitely work. What is this thing? It's not warm at all. Su Yun pointed at the cold noodles and said, "It's from last night, right?" Chairman Song didn't know if Su Yun was doing it on purpose or if he really hadn't seen the high-end delicacies of Korea, so he couldn't flare up and could only choose to endure it. This is called cold noodles. You eat cold noodles. Some places in Hua pay particular attention to eating cold noodles on the first day of summer. That's the custom, but we still eat hot noodles on normal days. Su Yun shook his head, indicating that he wouldn't eat such things either. Barbecue. That shouldn't be a problem, right? President Song asked. Su Yun glanced at it. Just this thin piece of paper? It seems like you haven't been to Hua to eat barbecue skewers. Our Hua directly roasts lamb legs and whole lamb. The meat skewers are even bigger than the fish skewers here. Do you know how we eat beef in Hua? Chairman Song shook his head. Forget it. You won't understand even if I tell you. Su Yun shook his head. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to eat an entire cow in Korea. If you like it, I can do it. Chairman Song nodded and said, "There are also Chinese restaurants in Korea. I believe I can find a top Chinese chef to make what you want to eat." Su Yun directly replied, "Am I crazy? Why would I come to Korea to eat Chinese food? Do you think you're the only one who knows a top Chinese chef? I can find a better Chinese chef than you in Korea with just a phone call." Chairman Song didn't expect Su Yun to be so sarcastic. However, the observant Chairman Song could tell from Zhua Meiyan's micro-expressions that Su Yun wasn't such a person. He was doing it on purpose. Therefore, Chairman Song had to endure. "Chairman Su, I feel that you seem to be biased against Korea." "I don't dare to say that," Su Yun said. "I think it's Korea who is biased against Hua. Chairman Song was stunned. "I know that in history, before the peninsula was separated, it had always been a vassal state of Hua. Later, it was annexed by Japan, and the country was destroyed for 36 years. These historical experiences have left deep scars in the hearts of many Koreans. Moreover, you Koreans like to think of yourselves as a small China. Su Yun, in recent times, you feel that not only Russia, the American Empire, and Japan have bullied you, but Hua has also bullied you. Therefore, you have a feeling of grief, indignation, and despair." Chairman Song didn't expect Su Yun to hit the nail on the head. In your ethnic character, the tendency to be reckless and emotional comes from the despair and resistance of being oppressed in history. This emotion has lasted until now. You don't deny it, right? Su Yun said. Chairman Song was speechless. In order to promote the orthodoxy of the new regime and draw a clear line with the feudal regimes of the peninsula in history, you deliberately describe the relationship between the two countries in history as one of aggression and being invaded. Some young people criticized the big picture and promoted the main historical view. Su Yun, is this really good? When you scold Japan for tampering with history and not admitting the truth of history, shouldn't you reflect on yourself? Is that really a relationship of aggression? It's not at all. I didn't say that, Chairman Song said. What did we hear today? You Koreans said that, in history, the border of Korea extended all the way to Beijing, Chinese characters are Korean, and so on. These are all bad consequences caused by the main historical view, Su Yun said disdainfully. You said that the men are yours, but how many of you know how to write? Isn't that nonsense? History is a burden in your hearts. Don't you admit it? Chairman Song was expressionless and didn't refute. He didn't expect Su Yun to educate him so bluntly. Do you know why I agreed to come to Korea? Su Yun, actually, I just want to teach you a lesson. Okay. Although Chairman Song was embarrassed and angry, for the sake of his face and his identity, he could only endure it. Actually, I discovered a very laughable problem. While you Koreans despise Hua, there's another laughable problem. You worship Hua Xia to the core. Su Yun, you know very well that Hua Xia is the most developed civilization in Korea, and you worship Hua Xia. Under the influence of Confucianism, you Koreans believe that Hua Xia is the root of your culture, and you have a sense of belonging to Hua Xia's Confucian culture. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that Confucius is also Korean. Chairman Song sucked in a breath of cold air. Now that he thought about it, it was rather embarrassing. Su Yun smiled. You Koreans, the older you are and the more educated you are, the stronger this feeling will be. In today's Korea, if some scholars or politicians find out that their ancestors are Hua Xia, they will be very happy and immediately go to Hua Xia to worship their ancestors. This is the basic idea of your people. You don't deny this, right? If you can't find out that you are related to Hua Xia, you despise Hua Xia. Can I take it as envy? I admit that this is the media's mistake. Chairman Song lowered his head and said. Su Yun was stunned. He didn't expect him to say that. Why? To be honest, most Koreans, especially the older generation, have a good impression of Hua Xia. For example, if there's a sports competition between Hua Xia and the Japanese team, I believe that the Koreans will cheer for Hua Xia. That's because Korea has been controlled by the Japanese for 36 years. The Koreans are very miserable, and the Japanese are very cruel. If there are Koreans who have a bad impression of Hua Xia, it's mostly because of the media's influence. Chairman Song's words were very honest. Even so, your president is still prepared to wear the same pants as the Japanese dogs, Su Yun said. Am I right? Chairman Song was silent for a moment before he finally nodded. To put it bluntly, it's because your woman in charge is 2F** ket up. Su Yun didn't hold back at all. Chairman Song didn't refute this. Yes, I don't support her. Because many things have happened in Korea during the years she was in power. The youth have a hard time finding jobs, the price of rice has plummeted, Korean history textbooks have been customized by the country, the gap between the rich and the poor has widened, and the economy has been depressed. All of this is because the Park government is incompetent. When Su Yun heard this, he felt that it was a little interesting. I hope that she will step down. Chairman Song actually said such a thing. If it weren't for her, I believe that our cooperation wouldn't have become like this today, right? The artists that I nurtured wouldn't have become so poor that they can't even afford to eat. When you say that, I can't help but want to be friends with you. Su Yun originally thought that Chairman Song would refute, but he didn't expect him to admit to everything. Of course, this didn't exclude the possibility that he was trying to curry favor with Su Yun, so he went along with everything Su Yun said. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.